I think Reckless is probably one of the best POIs now.
Wow. I don't know if I'm a believer of Reckless yet, but you know what? Fair enough. What's up, everybody? My name's Levin2K, and I am in the lobby with the one and only Vico. How are you doing, Vico?
I'm doing great, Levin.
I have to ask you, man. This season, you're playing with Flixie, and you guys are incredible. You talk to me about what that's been like.
Playing with Flixie has been quite fun. It's like I'm playing with someone who's like just as good as fighting as me, and he's always thinking the same as me.
That's been one of the key things about you guys as a duo, right? You guys are just fighting everybody, and it seems like nobody can really stop you. You know, the comparison that some people have been making was that you guys are like Peter Bottom Pollo, right? Do you agree with that sort of comparison?
I wouldn't say we're like Peter Bottom Pollo yet, but I would say we're on a good way to get there.
When it comes to actually starting to play with Flixie, obviously in the past you used to play with Pink. What was that decision like in terms of going away from like your long-term duo partner and going to play with somebody else?
The last 2 seasons that I've been playing with Pink, we didn't perform as well as we wanted to. We have just been lacking in every grind. We've always been lacking like the day ones. And I think it just got to me that last grinds we got 32nd while being uncon on our split and having forecast hour and everything. I mean, Flixie and Janice, they're both IGLs. That didn't work out as well the last 2 seasons, so I just decided to play with him.
What has been the difference between how you used to play when you were playing with Pink versus how you're playing now with Flixie, the difference in the playstyles?
I remember when I first started to pop off, I still had the same playstyle. Like, I was just going full aggressive, and I've never really done anything else. I mean, of course, I know how to play passive now because of Pink and Bloodix. I still thank them to this day for that. But I think my aggressive playstyle is just like, it fits more to me because I know Flixie will just do his own thing and will win the fight. Like in the duo cash cup that we won recently, people fought us for the forecast. We just both took a 1-on-1 and we just won it.
How are you finding Reckless Railways as a POI? Because I've been on record as saying I'm not as big of a fan of it as some of the other spots, obviously.
At the start of the season, I really wanted to land somewhere else because there was like, you know, the Mythic AR, the Boom Bow, but all of those POIs sadly got taken. We were like, nah, we're just gonna stay at our POI. With this season now that all the items have been nerfed, like I think Reckless is probably one of the best POIs now.
Wow, I don't know if I'm a believer of Reckless yet, but you know what, fair enough. You obviously were at Global Championships last year. What would it mean to you to make it there again?
I mean, it would be really important. Get to see all the other pros that got their way there. We get to meet you, Levin. We get to meet all the other Fortnite casters and people there. And it's always just so much fun competing in front of like thousands of people watching you live. If I'd have to watch home, I think it would just break my heart.
We don't want to see you at home. We want to see you there. You're one of the few players in Fortnite that can say, hey, I've won a LAN competition. Do you feel like that experience gives you an edge against the competition?
Playing on LANs is like, it's the same as playing home. Like there's no difference in it after I've won Red Bull Contested because it's like, it's not so bad if I don't win because I've already won one, but it's always cool to win another one, you know?
I'm also glad to know that you enjoy going to LANs because you get to see me. That makes me very happy, so thank you very much for that. Where can the people find you online if they want to show you some love and support, Vico?
Well, they can find me on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. It's always the same tag. It's Vico Trauna. I'm always live. So yeah.
Thank you very much for hanging out in the lobby with me. It's been an absolute pleasure, Vico, and good luck to you in Major 3.
Thank you.
It's time to go grand or go home, because finally, after what feels like too long a wait, the FNCS Major 3 semi-finals weekend is upon us. I'm Frankie Ward and I'm joined by 11-2K and Mini Miner. They've survived the long break, although I'm curious to know, Levin, what have you been up to?
Oh, I've been doing normal Levin activities, waffling about Fortnite to the masses and praying for competition to come back, and my prayers have been answered.
You've got a little shrine.
Yeah. Won't talk much more about it.
You know what, so have I. Actually, I went to go for my candle and then I realised health and safety. But, you know, I've been lighting this every day, praying for the battle bus to be refueled. Mini Miner, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm equally as hyped that Fortnite competition is back, FNCS is back. I was spending a lot of time outside, playing some sport, touching grass, you know, all the outside stuff. So it's been quite nice.
Touching grass, absolutely filthy, Mini and Miner. We need to purify the stream. And you know what? I thought of a fantastic guest to help us do it. All the way from Oceania, it is the wonderful AussieAntics joining us for a little chat.
Ooh. Hello, can you guys see me? You can hear me?
Hello, AussieAntics. Thank you so much for dialing in. Tell me, how are you enjoying FNCS Major 3 so far?
I'm enjoying it a lot. It's been very exciting. I mean, it's the last chance to make it to LAN. That's always going to bring the hype. I know there's a lot of pressure on these guys, and yeah, it's been super fun to watch.
Yeah, it's been really crazy for us on EU as well, because so many of our top players have left. They've gone to NA. So how do you feel about all those players moving regions to NA?
It was interesting. I mean, I was talking about it really early. I had a feeling Savage on his stream right after he didn't do too well last season was like, I've got big plans. And I was like, wait a second. I've thought about someone doing this for a while. There's no way they actually do it. And then they were the last ones to announce. There was like 8 other people who moved before them. And I thought 1 or 2 teams. I didn't think it was going to be like a full invasion, but it's been really fun to watch.
It's been crazy. It's been crazy. I got to ask you, Aussie, right? It's been a long break. You know, there wasn't much to do, but I did see you streaming some EWC. Can you talk to me about what's been going on with that? What was that about?
Yeah, so we had the final EWC qualifiers, so the last chance to make it to the LAN event for Riyadh for the EWC. It was super exciting. Again, if you guys have been seeing some of the craziness going on, it doesn't look like traditional Fortnite as much. You got the hard point, you got capture the flag. It's been really, really fun to watch. Super exciting. We had some big teams make it. Exit, one of the favorites since the start. Some of the biggest players on NA taking us to the last qualifier. It was really, really fun to watch.
Hang on a second, AussieAntics. Those are not Battle Royale modes I'm hearing here. Can you tell me more about this competitive, creative mode that the teams are playing in?
Yeah, so I mean, they're playing on a more kind of traditional, you know, competitive scene. I know a lot of people, maybe Fortnite's your first esport, but again, if you've played other esports or watched them, you know, capture the flag, hardpoint, now a version of oddball, they're very like standard competitive game modes. So it does look a little bit different. You've got hardpoint, obviously, where whoever captures the point and holds it gains points first to 250 wins. And then you have capture the flag, whoever captures more wins. But it's really cool. It's 4v4 game mode. So it's full of all your favorite players and names that you know about. Again, we had DreamHack Dallas dominated by Tayson's team, the Falcon Boys on EU. So it's all your favorite pros you know about, but they're playing a very different game mode.
Yeah, of course, these modes are being built on creative, their competitive mode. I know you've been watching a lot of it. What are your thoughts on having competition in these sort of creative modes?
Yeah, it's really exciting. I mean, it goes down that more traditional competitive route. Obviously, I've been watching Fortnite competitive now for, 6 years as the Battle Royale, and it's super fun and super exciting, but it's cool to see these players, you know, go down on a typical traditional route. Again, you know, there's no drop spot, there's no contestation, everyone gets the same loadouts. It's really, really fun, and it's cool to see, and, you know, with the power of creative, you can now make that. So I'm really excited to see that someone stepped into the scene and made a big creative tournament to kind of utilize these tools that they have.
I have to ask you, right? We've seen some massive names competing and qualifying, right, that are going to be there. My personal favorite player that's going to be competing, I have to say, probably is Bloomy, man. I got so much love for Bloomy. I have to ask you, Aussie, who are your favorite players? Who you got your eyes on? Who's impressing right now?
Oh, I mean, after DreamHack Dallas, we had Falcon just absolutely dominate. They won the entire thing without losing a single series, which is just so impressive. So the Falcon boys are looking really, really good. But we have had a whole, you know, online qualifier since then to get other teams to pop off. Exet has just now made a roster swap, picking up Cold into the Exet roster. So I'm kind of cheering them on because EU did dominate DreamHack Dallas despite it being in Dallas, United States. So I'm excited to see Exet and how their new roster looks coming into it. So I guess we'll see.
No, Aussie. we are purely EU fans on this show, so I want to bring it back to our region and ask you, who are you looking forward to seeing competing in the semi-finals of FNCS this weekend? Have you got any favourites?
Any favorites? I mean, I kind of want to see Chapentini do it again. I mean, I love the storyline. Chap playing in his first ever grand finals and getting second is wild. And now he's one of my favorites to win his second ever FNCS. So I'm super excited to see how they go. They're uncontested Nitrodrome. I think, honestly, I'm going to put it out there. I think they're going to win game 3 today. I'm calling game 2 or game 3. They're going to win it.
Ooh.
Oh my God, Aussie, I think we need to get you on the show again in the future to be an extra analyst. Would you be up for that?
I mean, we'll see. I mean, I like giving bold predictions. It'd be a fun time.
Yeah.
It's always fun chatting with you guys.
I love a bold prediction, I should say. We love talking to you as well. Where can people watch your EWC coverage and keep up with you online?
Yeah, I mean, twitch.tv/AussieAntics. I'll be going to Riyadh covering all the action for EWC. It's going to be kicking off around the 7th of next month as well. So it's coming down pretty quick in a few weeks. It's going to be 4 days of competition. It's going to be super exciting. I'll be covering all the action. Twitch.tv/AussieAntics. Or if you want to watch their official broadcast, it'll be twitch.tv/EWC.
Well, Aussie, it's been such a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for joining us from Down Under, and enjoy the show today.
Thank you so much. Have a good one, guys.
I feel like Aussie could definitely step in on the desk if something happens to me involving waters breaking and a baby coming. So Aussie, if you see me visibly looking pained on the broadcast, can you just like jump into the production team, just drop them a message and come and join. Now let's talk about what is going to be happening this weekend in our semi-finals, because we have got some big name duos joining us in the lobby. It's not everyone. It's not a case that everyone's gone to America. We do have some heavy hitters. So who's looking like they're in top gear at the moment, Levin?
Oh, I mean, there's been quite a few teams that have been, I'd say, smooth sailing, Mini Miner. They've just come into this season, hit their stride pretty early, and have been consistent throughout. Of course, looking at this list here, the likes of Trulex, Chicho, Nathan, and CZB maybe haven't reached the heights of some of the other guys, but they've just looked really strong at almost every given opportunity. Of course, how can you not have Manabuka Mustache here, landing at Redline Rig? They've, been incredibly good, right? And that's one of the best POIs this season. And then I think the obvious ones, right? Swizzy and Vanyak, the reigning champs, Chapentini, Mini, all these guys have just looked really good consistently this season.
Yeah, they already have. They've been performing well in the Cash Cups, performing well in the qualifiers. Trulex and Chicho off the back of a pretty poor start to the year for their standards, of course, not making Grand Finals major number 1. Last major was not absolutely ideal for them, not making a qualification, but they're on an upwards trajectory. They've changed their drop spot, though. So for that duo, I'm excited to see what they can do.
I'm wondering, with the case of Swizzy and Vanyak, can they make it back-to-back and get that Axe of Champions, Mini Miner?
I think they can. I think this is a duo that are arguably, if not definitely, the best team this season so far. Their performances in the duo Cash Cup finals have been really good. They've had a 3rd and a 2nd. And even interestingly, Levin, they actually switched duos for one Cash Cup. They actually switched from Mustache and Malibuka. They're very good friends. Swizzy got 2nd and Vanyak got 5th in that Cash Cup final. So it seems like individually they're playing so well as well.
Yeah, all those teams are definitely in top gear, but one of them is not like the rest, and that is Swizzy and Vanyak. They have been, by far and away, by almost every metric, the best team in EU this season. Chapentini, though, have also looked exceptional. I think based off of how they did last time round in the semi-finals when they burst onto the scene, this is another chance for them to really showcase just how prominent they've been since Major 2 semi-finals.
There's been so many changes to the meta this season as well. So many different changes to the items, the loot pool, etc. These guys seem to have just ridden that wave, just avoided any problems that could come with that, and they're looking really strong.
We've had quite a few duos break up and find new partners going into major number 3, because obviously everyone wants to guarantee themselves a spot in Fort Worth for the Global Championship. So who, Mini Miner, would you say your promising prospects at the moment?
Well, we have lots of promising prospects, lots of different teams that have come together for this season, teams that we are very excited about here on the desk, teams that have performed pretty well so far, but we still feel like they have so much more to give and so much potential for these semi-finals and, of course, grand finals. They can make it there. Vico Preshow, Flixie, new duo for this season. Cringe and Volko, likewise, two teams that are doing very well. Even Wox and Pings, Asa and Ju, teams that we haven't necessarily talked too much about this season 11, but are also doing really well.
Yeah, I think one of the great thing about a lot of those teams is that they've had some incredible individual sort of personal performances you've seen there, right? The likes of Haris has been super impressive at times, right? Cringe has really impressed me. Drew's been someone that always has crazy pop-off moments, right? And so I think a lot of the standout players are some of those newer teams you've seen competing there.
But a big name that I was kind of devastated to see break from his former duo partner is Vico. He's no longer with Pink. He is with Flixie. And this is a really promising duo, 11, I have to say.
I mean, how can you not talk about these guys? They have just been lighting the world on fire, Mini-Man. These guys are unbelievable. Their play style super, super aggressive. At every given opportunity, when you sort of put a team in front of them, they are more than likely just going to wipe them, it feels like. And it's super entertaining to watch as well.
Cringe and Volko, another name on that list, though, of course. This is a team that I'm particularly very excited about. I mean, you might remember last season I was kind of hyping up Volko Vortex as they ended up splitting. And I can see a lot of similarities in the way that this team played to what Volko and Vortex has played. Like, very solid game plan. They seem to be able to replicate it every single game. And I like to call these guys the passion duo, because whenever I watch their streams, whenever I don't speak German, whenever I watch them, they are just going crazy on the comms. They have so much passion for the game. They have so much belief in themselves that when it gets to the end game, they just seem to be on that same wavelength, but it also seems crazy from an outside perspective. You just know that they know what's going on. And I mean, landing at Lavish Lair, Cringe is the owner of that place. I have no doubt that these guys will do well and maybe, just maybe, get a win.
Sure.
Mini-Man, I can't believe you don't speak German.
I should learn it just to know what they say.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you'll need it when you get over to Global Championship. But we should talk about some duos who've actually booked their spot in the Global Championships, our sleeping giants of the semi-finals. And before we do, let's check in with Queasy.
Personally, I think Cammy and Seti are looking the strongest right now, and then after them, it's Malibuka and Meristash. The thing that sets Cammy and Seti apart is their work ethic. They've been playing like almost every scrim recently. And for Malibuka and Mercish, it's just the POI. They're getting uncon.
I mean, Cammy and Seti, they do have an incredibly strong work ethic, Levin. Is that the key to their success continuously?
I really love that Queasy said this, because it highlighted something so interesting in the dynamics of EU right now. Because if you were to look at just placements alone this season and performances and results alone this season, there's no way you could sit here and say Cammy and Seti look like one of the best teams this season. You couldn't, right? It wouldn't be reasonable, because there just haven't been crazy results from them at all, especially in comparison to some of the teams we've highlighted before this. But one thing that Queasy, a veteran of this region, someone who knows everything there is to know, he knows that when it comes to the most important moments, Cammy and Seti are gonna show up. And they've done that countless amount of times. Last season was sort of similar, where they were a bit quiet at times, Mini, right? And then it comes to semi-finals, game one, they win the game, qualify through to grands, come third place in grands. Like, this is just what Cammy and Seti do. And I think a lot of the other teams on this list are sort of in a similar ilk, where like, they're not gonna have like a bunch of Cash Cup wins throughout the season and like look really impressive. But when it comes time to it, they will perform at the highest level.
Yeah, I remember last season when we were talking about grand finals, talking about teams that we expect to do well, we were like, we haven't really watched Cammy and Seti all season. We saw them for one game in semi-finals. Of course, we had an open sort of lobby format for the qualifiers. We hadn't seen them in a set lobby. Now, though, they've had a little bit more time to do that. We had set lobbies for the qualifiers, and they're a team that can perform. My only concern is that off-spawn situation.
There's another duo that, I mean, earlier on you were talking, Levin, about the fact that Vico and Flixie are really fun to watch. But Reason and Vidil, man, all year they have been entertaining us, haven't they?
Yeah, man. I mean, when it comes to German-speaking firepower, entertaining duos, put some respect on the OGs. They've been doing this for years, not just one season, for years. Reason and Vidil, it feels weird, Mini, because, you know, it almost feels like we don't talk about them as much season to season, but they are actually the only duo that has qualified on day one of semis in Major 1 and Major 2, right? Like, they did it twice already this year, so probably gonna do it again today, you'd think, especially being uncontested at Snooty.
Yeah, they seem to be like clutch personified almost. It seems like they're not always in the best situation. They can get themselves out of it just because they're just so good mechanically. Even if there's question marks about how much this duo are grinding, whether Vidil is grinding enough to be at the top, he always seems to just squash those complaints and those questions even to say, you know what, I'm Vidil, I can do what I want. And of course, Reason as well with the fragging power of this duo, they can just seem to pop up out of nowhere. We'll be watching a tournament, they'll be in sort of like 5th place in game 5. We haven't really seen them that much. It's like, how are they there? How are they in this situation? They just seem to be able to make it happen. And landing at Sandy Steps, one of the best drop spots on the map, they have all the ingredients.
I'm so excited for the semi-finals. I have to say, it's my favorite part of the major format. Anything can happen. We've got 255 duos playing today. We're just going to be showing you the top 50 in the upper bracket lobby. Who is going to be taking the first victory royale of the day and therefore the first spot in Grands. Let's head over to Takata and Jacob Pion. Get the battle bus on the road.
Thank you so much, Frankie. I'm also excited, Jacob. I know you're feeling the same. It's semifinals. We had a quick break, but the battle bus is ready. Let's get right into the first match of the day.
Luckily, it didn't take us long to jump into game 1 because I was about to toss my chair out of here. Forget being on the edge. This is 5 games today, and it's not your standard format. You win, you're into the grand finals. After that, it's the teams placed 6th through 25th that will continue on in the upper bracket side of things. And one thing that we've seen throughout this style of formats in Major 1 and Major 2 is you want to stay in the upper bracket. Even if you don't find a way to get that win, that is what's going to give you the easiest road to the finals.
Exactly. Although the winners do qualify directly to the grand finals of the matches today, like you said, Jacob, you want to stay in uppers because uppers day 3, it's all about consistency. 25 duos from the upper bracket qualify and then another 15 from the lower bracket. But, you know, if you can qualify day 1, it's a way to get it done. I know Levin, Mini, and Frankie were talking about it. There's 11 players competing today that have previously won an upper bracket day 1 in previous majors, and 4 of the duos that are competing today have done that as well. Queasy and Thomas, Murstache Malabuka, Vidil and Reason, Cami and Seti. These are all duos that have taken home a VR in day 1 of the upper bracket. So we'll take a look here. Janice and Pixie. They're going to be one of the duos that are going to be contested.
Yeah, over towards Brawler's Battleground to where, you know, a couple of seasons, last season that we had the medallion, there was a mythic weapon, a real reason to land over here, and now it's kind of gotten tossed to the side, but it's still just as good because of the new season and the changes to the south side of the map. The Nitro rings, the cactus, there's even a launch pad right next to Brawler's Battleground so they can kind of get out and disengage if things become just a little bit tough, and this is a huge changeup that we've seen from the qualifiers, because remember, we were watching Kyrie, we were watching Bad Sniper get contested and actually fight it out to the very end after this POI. And the biggest change that we've noticed, and even talking to Prodigy Analytics, aka Alden, is the time to close out these fights have drastically changed throughout the course of the season. Is usually our big names, Vidil, Reason, they finish fight quick, sometimes even under a minute. Now there's less risk, there's less chances, and because the average skill in the lobby has gone up, that average time to finish these fights have drastically changed.
Speaking about fights, hold on a minute. I thought Vidil and Reason were going to have Sandy Steps uncontested here, but it looks like there might have been another duo that wanted to be a part of the party here, as Vidil now forced into an engagement, trying to get some shots onto his opponent, but so far, nothing big has connected.
Yeah, not just yet. Like I was talking about, there's just a huge risk in these situations, especially you're winning, you're in. And you got to wait till you have such a big advantage of Vidil and Reason already sensing that here. They try to close it on the distance, but take note, they're keeping their places elevated before they use the Nitro Splash and try to drop down, using any nook and cranny they can to try to get a shot in. And already they have a huge health advantage, forcing them down below to use the Nitro Splash to try to counter back. But Vidil, he found that nook and cranny that I was talking about, that little bit of space, was able to get the first knock and really turning the tides in this fight.
Tidy now left alone, a 2v1 situation. Vidil and Reason with the advantage, not only HP and shield, but also the player, as now a potential full piece can come through here. Wow. Shot's going to be connected. Both players are going to be cracked. Now Reason going to be forced to play a bit more aggressive here. Does not want to let Tidy have time to heal up, to recuperate those shields that he's lost. But the shots are being connected from both ends here. You want to make sure to stay together, but Vidil is going to be the one that finishes it off. It was a close call, though. If Vidil ended up getting knocked there, it could have been dangerous for Reason, but either way, good way to start off the first engagement here in Sandy Steps, claiming their POI from assuming they were not going to be contested to last minute having to take one of those engagements.
Fighting in that spot's just tough. There's all these broken walls, half walls, to where you can't really build. Almost gives you a flashback of the Invitational, Veno versus Seti, where he just wasn't able to build the wall because of those uppers and the way they're placed. So just very, very unfortunate circumstances. Just like iDrop and Riss already out of the gates, one of them going down. And Dose and Svi, this is a team that I thought starting off was going to contest Swizzy and Vanyak, and already they get a knock, just unfortunately enough. Look at iDrop, angles, the pressure, and he really doesn't slow down and lose any of the confidence throughout this whole fight.
I didn't get to see how many eliminations iDrop had when he was rebooting. He might have just got that one elim and then both players disengaged, but quickly enough, we switch to another engagement here. It's going to be Vico and Flixie here, who are looking to hold on to the elevation and see if they can finish up this engagement quickly. Growing right into the box with a Nitro. Nice connection from the pump shotgun as well. Now it's turned into a 2v1.
Yeah, even though they kind of had a little bit of nerf to the Nitro, it just changes the way you got to use it. Shoot the wall just a little bit. You can break into it all the same. Ice is trying to fight back. He does hit a huge shot on the Flixie, but it's just not enough. When you start a fight in 2v1 and that early damage goes out, it kind of flusters you a little bit, making some decisions, but Flixie, Vico, they get the best of them, and now you can see what they were fighting for, the forecast tower. You might have switched teammates, even switched drops up a little bit, but that importance of the forecast tower is still there.
Yeah, you were wondering, why is there so many builds? Why do they want this position so much? Well, that forecast tower is going to grant you vision of the upcoming zones if it ends up spawning and you're able to claim it. And that's exactly what they were fighting for. Just like Chapentini here on a different forecast tower on the opposite side of the map. I believe it's going to be Finn and his duo partner who are kind of on the receiving end of this engagement. 235 tags will connect though. Trying to do as much damage as possible. This is the semifinals. Storm Surge is going to be activated later on, so you want to make sure to get as much damage as possible. But for Nathan and CZB, a knock is going to be all it takes.
Yeah, this is a team. I know we didn't really talk about them enough, but coming into this season, you know, their placings have been progressively getting better. They're performing much more proficiently in these closed style lobbies. And, you know, I predicted them to kind of make the major last time with how well they're performing, but now they have experience on their side. Now they have a couple seasons, a couple of big fights. And now I'm looking at Nathan and CZB, even though with utmost confidence, you know, winning a game, that's one of the harder things you have to do. But with how well they've been performing week after week, major after major, don't be surprised if we see them win a couple games or a game today and advance to the grand finals.
Thomas HD and Queasy. We saw Queasy talking a little bit in the pre-show, how he was feeling of some of his competitors. He actually said Cammy and Seti are looking like the most dangerous duo so far for the rest of this major. But let's see what Queasy and Thomas HD can pull off. I'm liking so far. They have kind of a Tarnal going here. I didn't get to see if they had any eliminations already. I'm not sure if you saw, Jacob, but I think they're starting off pretty strong.
Yeah, especially since they have the Cactus. They're getting early game surge, which has been a thorn in their side for not just this season, but multiple seasons as well. So switching up here when it matters most. Sky and Scroll, you see them on the outskirts of the zone, not too far off, but there is another team in their direction that can potentially third party if they do like what they're hearing. But I talked about the risk, the scenario. A lot of these fights, at least early on here in game one, teams are actually choosing to kind of disengage. They don't want to take that big risk. They go down early. I think maybe later on, maybe games 4, maybe games 5, depending on where you're at in the leaderboard, that's when we'll start to see a lot more of those big risks comes out. Because if you're out in the leaderboard, if you're outside of the top 26, it's either that or go to the lower bracket.
Yeah, as a reminder as well, their lower bracket is being played out at the same time right now with the same format that we had a few majors ago, where it's, I believe, 250, 255 duos who are all competing at the same time. But this is just a set lobby. There's 50 duos, 5 matches to be played out. Not 6, only 5 matches, where the duos that secure that victory royale will qualify directly to the grand finals, and then top 20 from the upper bracket will continue in upper bracket once again tomorrow. And even the top 30 from the lower bracket competing today will also get pushed up to the upper bracket tomorrow. So 3 days of competition in the semifinals. It's a little complicated, but I guarantee it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, as long as you guys tune in, don't worry, we'll hold your hand. We'll guide you throughout the weekend, who qualifies, what scenarios they need. As Polish, he was able to get Rez back up into this situation. Teammate doing a good job of not letting them get pushed. You saw Seti and Cam. You saw so many teams, and they're deep in the zone. These are one of those scenarios to where people see this, they think it's a good chance to go and try to get some damage, try to get an elimination. But I think since everybody's staggered back long enough, they probably have their cactuses, which will no longer respawn in the zone. So they're just trying to make sure they separate far enough so that way they can have a fair rotation into the zone and not take those big risks. And I think that's what we're going to see throughout the day here today. Early on in these games, a lot of players and teams will play just a little bit more tight, try to play more of that standard gameplay.
Yeah, what's good about the current map of this season is there's a lot of environmental mobility. You can see those nitro rings, what Seti just jumped through. He didn't go too far there, but if you were to combine it with a Flowberry Fizz, for example, or something that grants you a bit more of that mobility boost, you can launch yourself a significant distance. So it's okay to stay in the zone a bit longer as long as you can secure a safe rotate or even a potential to get a bit more damage, as Chicho here in Trulex connecting some nice shots. There's actually 61 white onto his opponent. I didn't quite see who it was, but they might be in a bit of a dangerous or desperate situation.
It's kind of a little slow than our thing to rotate out of Nitro Drone. But I mean, watching a lot of scrims, cash cups, the zone previously did have like a favor towards the south side, or at least seemingly so. That has been constant. So this moving towards the north side of the map this time around, especially the northwest, I think teams have prepared for maybe a south pool and now being surprised here early in game one. Others are staggering their position exactly for what Pixie and Yanis are fighting for, the bunker here. And this is a good amount of loot. You see no med kits, no colas in Pixie's inventory. Maybe the nitro splashes are on Yanis, but they could use a pick-me-up here if they do win this fight, or just force Bad Sniper and Kyrie off of the bunker.
We've seen it time and time again where players will stay in the zone just to claim the bunker and have that kind of battle. Issue is, when you go into the bunker, there's only one way out of the bunker. So if the opposing duo is still up, they could just hold you in the bunker in zone for as long as they want. Kyrie, though, gonna connect some nice shots onto his opponent. It's gonna be Janice who got cracked there, left with a little bit more than 30 HP now, forced to heal back up.
See the floppers getting dropped. That's a clear indicator of the healing situation for Yanis and Pixie in terms of HP. You see some bigs, you see some multiple resources for them to use, but it's the HP that you really have to watch out for. The longer you take, the harder it's going to be. As Bad Sniper trying to hold down the wall. Kyrie taking an additional angle, maybe trying to get a little surprise attack on Yanis and Pixie, who don't seemingly know that he might be up there just yet. So this could be a good opportunity for Bad Sniper and Kyrie to get a shot. But once again, because neither player wanted to go down early, they're fighting for control rather than just straight damage.
Gotta be careful here. One big shot is all it takes. You want to conserve those floppers, especially if you consider the time it's going to take to not only loot the bunker, but also get out of it if you don't end up securing these eliminations. I wonder at what point these players are going to decide it might not even be worth it anymore to continue this. Really depends on how many heals they have. I'm not sure what Kyrie and Bad Sniper have in the loadout. We know that Janice and Pixie are holding floppers, but looks like Bad Sniper, Kyrie have decided now. It's taking too much time. We're not making much progress. Let's get out of here.
Yeah, and see, they know the disengage is coming. Yanis going to go ahead and loot up. Pixie's going to land a couple extra shots, but now the healing is just in a dire situation. I like it out of Kyrie and Bad Sniper, whether they have heals or not, being proactive. Because not only do you have to make it to the zone using your heals, once you get there, you're probably low on HP as well. So being very, very proactive, trying to think 2-3 steps ahead is going to be very important, especially in that situation.
Switching on over to Vanyak and Swizzy alongside Thomas HD and Queasy. Our major two champs, Vanyak, Swizzy, also competed in upper bracket day one in the previous majors and qualified through a VR, so we'll have to see here. Well, they didn't qualify through a VR in upper bracket one, apologies, but they did compete in day one upper bracket. You gotta be careful though. Cracked out of the sky. Swizzy left just one shot away from getting eliminated, as Vanyak quickly is gonna cover his surroundings, and Thomas HD is going to decide it might not be worth it to continue with that aggression.
Yeah, I think he just kind of knew. Yeah, there's that one team, Swizzy, Vanyak, you just got their HP, shields low, but there's so many teams stacked around this side of the map, and they are the lowest elevated, almost down low in the mud. So go moving up, even trying to finish that fight, just puts you at so much risk from those third-party shots that we saw start off and made him really think that situation. From one elevation that's very low to the highest point here on the map. Moya and Tarps do look like they're going to be able to capture that Rift Island. And I got to ask, what do you think about that mythic, the hand cannon? Is it something that you must grab? Is it something that maybe if you're good enough with it?
Look, if you're him, Jacob, if you can connect those headshots, if you're confident in your aim, I know players like Thomas HD could potentially be a fan. But in terms of, you know, utility you could take over it, I don't know. We've seen the DMR be used a lot for Storm Surge specifically. It's a situational type of item, but I'm a fan. Personally, I'm taking that.
Oh, so you're saying if for Thomas, you can grab it. If you're Jacob PR, maybe leave it there. And grab it.
Maybe you got
okay, I got that one. Duly noted.
Look, I didn't directly say it, but I'm glad you caught kind of my drift, you know? Anyways, changing the subject here. Cringe Volko, 103 above. You might think, okay, you know, that's quite a bit of damage. It's nothing in semifinals with the amount of damage that their opponents are going to be doing. So they have a long ways to go to feel safe. And in the position they currently are, they're almost centered in between quite a few duos. So they don't want to get the focus onto them. They have to be careful here on how they decide to kind of look for these shots. But Malibuka Merstash, I thought for a second they were going to make an aggressive play, but it looks like they are. That actually might be exactly what they're going to do. I'm not wrong at all. It's going to be Malibuka Merstash now going for the box fight against Podesai and Snazy.
A big fight where they just get tagged out of the sky. Merstash is already feeling troubles. 2v1. He gets knocked. Storm Surge now causing havoc for Malibuka, forced to bob around. 14 below the damage threshold and dealing damage. Third-party shots coming in. The stresses will continue for Malibuka, forcing him inside of the zone just a little bit, but that's no worries. He does have the med kits. He's trying to let Snazy and Podesai take a lot of this focus and pressure. That way he can heal up and try to fight it. Even though 14 isn't a lot, you know as well as I do, box fighting against Snazy and Podesai, that's not where you necessarily want to try to get the brunt of your damage, because now they're turning the tables. They're getting aggressive. No Malibuka was back up against the zone, but distracted yet again. He's peeking through at these perfect moments to land the shots, using that third party as a big distraction.
You could see they were just 30 damage above Storm Surge. They didn't want to play the slow game, taking shots from afar. They know how confident they are mechanically, so they went all in for that engagement, for that extra damage, but it did not quite go their way as Merstash has gone down, and now Malibuka has been left alone to figure out how he's going to clutch it up. I mean, a little deja vu from previous clutches that Malibuka has done, but this time around, it looks like the dream is not going to become a reality.
I really wanted to see him do the trick, just quickly drop the medallion, pick it back up, causes instant heals on the shields, and I've heard things about it out-healing Storm Surge as well, so I was a little surprised to see them with the red line rig loot down on Surge, but that's the name of the game. This is a huge change-up of the lobby right now, and this is the biggest chance for our underdogs. I was talking about it through the qualifiers, the teams that are just in the shadows, not necessarily the superstars. This is going to be the biggest and best chance to change the course of their Fortnite career.
Marius, TikTok clip star, alongside Sangild here. It looks like they need to go straight into the action, Malibuka Merstash style, but once again, it's not going in their favor. They have no shields to work with, no HP advantage. As for 9 and his duo here are just gonna almost get some free pickings on both of these players. Little refresh, little bit more damage, as they desperately needed it as well.
Yeah, just kind of blocked them out. They knew they had Marius down already. Zone was there. Just a little crevice. Look how much zone is actually left. They were just holding the walls instead of trading shots. They finally let him in and then just kind of took him out. Great move for Fernai and Adela. 638 above the damage threshold as well. From here on out, they have the luxury of just worrying about rotations and positioning, not having to force themselves to fight for Storm Surge like we've seen some of the other teams already have to do in this lobby.
Queasy was saying Cammy and Seti have been locked in their scrim game, not missing a single scrim upcoming to this major. So they have prepared. Will we see that reflect throughout the match today is the big question. Was it game 1 that they ended up winning in the previous major or major 1? I know they won one of the initial matches.
I want to say it was
in
game
the upper
1,
bracket.
and they took high ground to do it. Something very, very unfamiliar from Seti and Cammy. But hey, that's what you have to do for a team that's been as dominant as they have throughout the past couple years. Maybe they haven't won an FNCS during the majors, but they have the Invitational Championship. They always show up when they matters. But now they're going up against a bunch of other teams that have been progressively. Swizzy, Vanya. Swizzy specifically is probably on one of of the most terrific, impressive runs throughout the last couple majors that we've seen in EU in such a long time. And I'm looking for them here, probably the #1 ranked team going into today to continue that domination.
A lot of exciting things coming soon. This is the last major, an opportunity to qualify to that global championship. Book your tickets to Fort Worth if you haven't already to see who is going to take home the crown. Snazy Podosai now only 25 above. They are in quite desperate need of a bit of damage here, but that might just be enough. Pushed up to 140 now, even securing that elimination. Odin now is left alone with Storm Surge taking.
2 eliminations. They're trying to look for more and being proactive. You know as well as I do, especially when you got to rotate zone to zone, running out of a lot of resources and materials. You want to try to get the best, especially now that you have that red line rig loot. You're able to save a lot of those shields using the Flowberry Fizz strictly for utility. They put themselves in such a good spot, but they're missing HP. They're missing heals, and right now they need a refresh if you're looking at the builds as well. So as good as Snazy and Podosai are doing, you know their job is not done just yet.
Rotate coming through now. They are going to choose to elevate themselves here on the crossing. Got to be careful to not get beamed out of the sky, but it looks like they've made quite the clean rotate, Jacob.
Okay, pretty clean. Reason trying to do the same thing. Just trying to look for any fallen loot, any scraps that is left behind. 8 builds, no shields, no heals, just the weapons in your inventory. Even if you have 5 eliminations, placement points have not begun to set in just yet. 2 more teams still need to go down. So talk about stressful situation. Reason got to be one of the most stressful spots on the island right now.
Yeah, it's not something I like to see, seeing that Vidil and Reason are the only EU duo that has won a game on day 1 of the upper bracket in the past 2 majors. But you never know, Jacob. The solo dream. Taking a look at the little replay from Swizzy here, though. From the clouds, like a bird dropping down like a meteor. Nice little picking on Artist.
Well, I said they needed a refresh. They probably heard me say, all right, Captain, I'm going. A nice little refresh. They got their HP back, and now they're back into prime position. Still a little low when it comes to the materials. 1 crash pad left in the inventory, but I gotta expect Vanya to have some nitro splashes. That's where you got that strength in a duo. Getting the inventory spread between the two. 208 above the damage threshold. The lowest elevation, I do believe, at this point in time, so they do have a mountain to climb and a bridge to topple over.
Yeah, if you look at that zone at the bottom right of the screen on the mini-map, it's pulling south from Swizzy and Vanyak, and like you said, there's kind of like this little ridge that they're going to have to get over. So not only trying to disrupt their opponents, but also kind of find a path for that rotation. As you can see, they're already getting it prepped up. Flowberry Fizz is going to come through. And let's hope they can get a clean rotation here.
Yeah, everybody around him kind of taking damage. You see Storm Surge going off, and that's the thing. You don't necessarily see somebody else going through the Storm Surge. You can only really hear the shield as Volko, Cridge finally reunite in the same box, but 99 below the damage threshold, actively taking Surge. They reunite in the same box just in the nick of time to get the Flowberry off, trying to keep themselves alive, but they're still 81 below and quickly falling further. Luckily for them, Storm Surge has come off, but that is a teaser of what's to come if they don't start getting proactive for damage now.
Priority is damage for this duo now, but they gotta be careful. Volko cannot take too many shots. On the other hand, though, Cringe looking healthier than ever as they continue to get ahead of zone now. Good opportunity to look back and take shots at these duos that are rotating in a bit later, but it's gonna be Queasy. It's gonna be Thomas HD. They're gonna make a play for height.
Yep, they've been waiting for a moment like this. They're going to be the ones highest up, but 8 zone might be a little too soon, especially with the addition of the crash pads and the Flowberry Fizz. We've seen very, very late game high retakes, and already looks like Trulex Chicho. They're the ones waiting right behind that zone. Might be a possibility there. You see the spread of the land. Pixie and Lunex, 2 solos just on the outskirts. They're trying to go through unnoticed. Meanwhile, everybody else is kind of jam-packed together.
Cammy, Seti, done a good job of staying up and conserving a lot of materials. With only 1 elimination, they have not had to risk a lot to get to where they are in this match. Pixie now has lost his duo partner Yanis, so he's stuck as a solo. Good amount of builds, though. Still has a Flowberry, still has damage. And for Thomas HD and Queasy, it's just maintaining their position.
Putting pressure down from above, try to deny any opportunity as Vaniac with a nice shot on the Voltiax. Couple more players right in front. He's just trying to steal away the loot. Gets the Flowberry Fizz, a full one at that, but it comes at a sacrifice. Just getting tagged up all around. Minimal builds. He's trying to use them as wisely as possible, but that's what caused him to take some damage. Him and Swizzy momentarily separated, but Vaniac does have that win condition in his inventory. 2 medkits, so it's going to be an important thing to look at as this game continues to progress.
One is going to be popped, though. Leave him with one more med kit. You can see Thomas HD dropping down below. Might be looking for a refresh, for some loot from a potential elimination that they secured. Even just reconnecting their builds a little bit here. It looks like they're still healthy, though, in terms of materials. It's all about applying pressure now to those layers close to them to try and avoid having or giving their opponents the opportunity to try and retake.
Yeah, the players that I thought were actually going to try to attempt it are the ones just getting cracked right there. Trulex, Chicho end up in a tough situation. High ground, low ground, everybody beginning to target in this direction, but they're very, very healthy when it comes to those materials. Spreading them out, making sure there is a strength for both of them to utilize. The Nitro Splash comes out, mix it with the dash. Easy rotation for Trulex and Chicho as they make their way and dip their toes in the waters once more.
River of Sticks gonna give them those dashes, but you gotta be careful because all your opponents have dashes as well. Cammy now left alone. Seti has been knocked down. Taking a swim, you gotta be careful though, because there's a lot of sharks in the water. As now just 170 builds. Luckily enough though, a quick refresh, pushed up to maximum wood as he's gonna continue tarping.
Looking like a grade A swimmer there for a moment before unfortunately he goes down, and all that chaos is going happening on that mid to low layer. Everybody else, Queasy, Thomas, they're just looking down, smiling ear to ear, knowing they likely have this one in the bag as Chicho's left by himself. A tall task, but he climbs up the mountain and he's quick to react. He makes his way up there, making it for a great chance to look back and try to find any opportunities.
Incredibly efficient use of the dashes here by Chicho, conserving as many materials as possible, but he is going to be running low now. You got to be careful as you got to find a solo. You don't want to go against the duo if you're in Chicho's position here. Try and find someone that might be low on loot, low on mats, as Nathan and CZB are going to continue with that chemistry, tarping together.
The continued experience season after season paying off. Uncontested Grand Glacier, 4 eliminations. This is just game 1, and these guys are looking like they have a chance to go to the grand finals. They got so many big names, so many FNCS champions in their path, Swizzy and Vanya being one of them, and they're quickly trying to box them out, but the zone is moving in their direction. Blessing in disguise for CZB and Nathan.
The Major 2 champions, Swizzy and Vaniac. Swizzy alone with 7 eliminations, popping off in this first match of the day. Still so many duos are up. It is gonna be incredibly difficult to secure the VR, but Vaniac goes down, Swizzy goes down, Nathan with 2 quick elims, and CZB is still up.
They haven't had the chance to grab all that loot just yet, or at least not the medallion. The HP, the medkits, the heal scenarios here is going to be huge for CZB and Nathan. We know Nathan has none. Queasy healing off backside of zone. Where's Thomas? Where's Queasy? QNDX and Phantom out of nowhere, looking for a big opportunity to steal the game, but Phantom's going to go down. QNDX by himself. CZB is gone. One-on-one with Queasy, the backside of zone, but QNDX has no heals, no medkits. Queasy could have a chance with one more left in the inventory to pull off a big win here, controlling height from 8th zone all the way to 12. Very little people could contest them until QNDX and Phantom all the way from Middle East, winning game 1 in the EU semifinals.
What a way to book your ticket to the grand finals. QNDX Phantom, not only 12 eliminations, but also the victory royale in the first day of the semifinals here on EU. What a way to close out the match. Queasy with an attempt of the heal off once high ground was overthrown, but unfortunately he did not have enough med kits to close it out, and QNDX with a couple shots connecting was all that it took to finish off the game.
Yeah, we were talking so much about so many duos switching region, EU players going to NA, Brazil came to EU. We forgot about QNDX and Phantom from Middle East. They already got their global championship spot secured, and in game 1 here today, they secured that EU FNCS grand final spot.
What a way to close it out. So much just went down, but we need to toss to a quick break while we can refresh our minds and update that leaderboard to see what's changed. So we'll see you shortly.
Welcome back to FNCS, and if you missed our first game, it was taken by QNDX and Phantom before the break. And if you are uninitiated to this duo, let me remind you, or even tell you, that this is a duo that left the region of the Middle East to compete in Europe, and now they have booked their first spot in the European Grand Finals, Levin. I mean, this is a turnout for the books.
What a flex. I mean, I'm so happy for these guys. Usually, I'd get in ultra defensive EU defender mode, but I'm just smiling ear to ear. These guys have moved over. Lots of people have been sleeping on it. I think because this has been the major of like teams moving all across the world, this has very much fallen under the radar, right? Like, no one cares that Middle East teams move to EU, but hey, game one here of the semis, they have secured a spot in Grand Finals. And if they can keep playing like that come Grand Finals, they probably can make it to Globals as well. So I'm really excited for these guys. Well played.
Yeah, it's an interesting point because they haven't moved here for a little bit of extra practice. It's not like they've already qualified on Middle East and they thought, right, let's get into the more difficult lobbies and practice for these upcoming global championships. They said, right, we're going to try and make it to Globals from EU. They haven't qualified yet, so getting that first drop, that first spot in Grand Finals is going to do them a world of good when it comes to confidence, because this season overall hasn't been an amazing season for them. They're first on the region. I've seen them qualify for 2 Geo Cash Cups. It hasn't been absolutely insane, absolutely stellar, but it seems like right there, they just picked their moment to take high. Worked out perfectly well for them. A little bit of a questionable moment there at the end when I think Phantom went down with the med kits. I know me and Levin, we were like, was that really the best choice? Maybe Storm Sickness had a part to play there, but ultimately they won the game. They don't care.
And they also won it against Queasy and Thomas. And this is a duo who have sometimes had difficult games, shall we say, in this major. They haven't necessarily found the flow that saw them book their spot in the Global Championships all the way back in Major 1. And also, we got to see them on the high ground this time, Mini Minor, and I feel like that's not something they've been competing for so far this season.
Yeah, it's nice to see, and it's something that I hope will continue for this duo. Of course, we almost just associate the word high ground with Queasy. He is the high ground dominant player when you look at historics for the EU region. But this is a nice little bit of gameplay from these guys. Nice game for them in general, because I think this is a duo that definitely need to make sure that they can pick up a win. I think it's a duo that can pick up a win. So now they've given themselves that little bit of a safety net. They're not going to get inside of that top 20 or that bottom 25. They can try and take height more often now for the rest of today.
I mean, I want to emphasize something here, right? In the past week, I think I've done about 3 different interviews of Queasy on like 3 different platforms, right? And in every single one of them, he has emphasized how him and Thomas, before this, hadn't played a single scrim session. Like, they've not been grinding, they've not been practicing together. And I mean, watching that first game, you could never tell. Like, they looked really sharp in a lot of those moments. And again, it's just another example of our sleeping giants being awoken, where on the biggest moments, on the biggest stages, they will turn up. Class is just permanent.
It is incredible to see them like really on form. Some other names, of course, we can't not mention Swizzy and Vanyak, our dominators from Major 2. Playing an intelligent game on the low ground, shall we say, Levin?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, we hyped them up as being a team that have been the best team this season in EU. They are the reigning FNCS champions, put their spot to Globals. My good friend Reese Hub has been saying, we are in the Swizzy era. I mean, you know, he's very much been the guy for the past year, it feels like. And so in this game, very much showcasing why he's considered the guy. Like, he's popping off with the eliminations, just picking people off at any given opportunity. Here he gets his 7th. I mean, yeah, it was a very impressive game for Swizzy and Vanyak. And even if it doesn't end in a win, this is the kind of level they have been showing when given the opportunity.
I mean, even use that mythic combat shotgun. I know we've talked about that weapon throughout the season, Levin. You've been a guy that's been that don't like the mythic combat. What's the point in taking it? But from Brutal Beachhead down there, I had a few question marks about, is that a drop spot that's going to win them Grand Finals? Is it going to be a drop spot that's going to be able to win in this FNCS? I think looking at the way they're playing, looking at the style that they're adopting here, sitting back, trying to get some early tags with people with that combat, I think it could well be.
Well, you know what? Earlier on, if you missed the pre-show, guys, watching at home, we were talking about the sleeping giants of the lobby. And 2 of those names were Seti and Cami. They are known for showing up at moments like these. And they set out their stall in game number 1, Mini Mano.
Yeah, a solid performance for these guys. Nothing too out of the ordinary, really, for this duo. I had a few questions about this duo coming into this, about their drop spot situation. How are they going to manage that? It seemed like they managed that really well. Both teams managed to get out in a good situation situation. But for these guys, I think, you know, they're just going to keep that consistency. Are they going to get a win? They did last season, of course. Remember, in the first game of semifinals, I think they have what it takes, but if they have to qualify through day 3, not a problem for them either. It seems like they're back to their good ways, and obviously there it was the Nitro that eliminated Cammy at the end.
If we look at these standings now, it's really important for our duos to have a consistent performance across the remaining 4 games we have of the upper bracket lobby, because everyone, Levin, wants to stay in the upper bracket and have a chance of getting that victory royale pass through to the grand finals next weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. I think as these next couple games go on, you still are playing for the win, playing to secure a spot in grands. But as we get to, you know, game 4, you start probably thinking, okay, let's make sure we're at least in, you know, that sort of upper echelon so we can stay here in upper bracket and get a chance tomorrow to do the same.
Well, the tension is mounting, so let's see what is going to happen in our second game of the upper bracket lobby with Takata and Jake and Pierre.
Takata, we were so close to having a Swizzy, Vanya, Queenie, Thomas 2v2 at the end game, but Phantom and QNDX. Congratulations these guys, because I was reading his Twitter already. They said you couldn't qualify heats. He made it. You couldn't qualify grands. He made it. I dare anybody to say they won't win finals.
If they win finals, Jacob, I'm clipping what you just said, because that was insane. They came out of nowhere. I mean, Queasy, Thomas HD, they were up high, poop, 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 doing a good job, shooting down below. All of a sudden, Queasy, bop, 2-0, he's gone. And then now the battle bus is ready. We'll see if we got a repeat or we get something similar. Let's get right into game number 2.
Interesting thing is 5 games, winner qualifies to the grand finals. You no longer have to play the rest of the day, which means in theory a spot has just opened up on the map, and it was an uncontested spot just right of Redline Ring on the south. That little dock that you see there, that's where QNDX and Phantom were dropping. So hey, if any of these teams looking like I don't like my drop, I was maybe too contested early on, it might be time to switch things up.
Issue is, if multiple duos have that same idea, then we could get another contestation, but I don't even think I see any duos going to QNDX and Phantom's drop, but it looks like Brawler's Battleground still popular for the 2 duos that were dropping here last game, and we might have a right off the bat quick engagement.
Yannis quickly going for the shields. It did look like we were going to have that fight that you were talking about. Bad sniper, accurate. Kyrie with the high ground. Yannis quickly runs out of builds, and that early shield he gone is out just like that. Interesting decision right here for Bad Sniper Kyrie. They do not follow up on any of the damage. Probably don't feel confident in their loot. You see, they don't have any variation of a shotgun just yet.
Luckily enough, though, found a good amount of minis. Can recuperate that shield that was lost early on, but quickly taking a look here. Silly Emil and Gunbri, who is going to go down, unfortunately. Was that a 1v2, or had they already eliminated?
We're going to call it a 1v2 just because
yeah, we're going to call it a 1v2. You know what?
So when he watches this, he feels so good. 1v2, that was a good 1v2. And
crazy 1v2.
It was against a team that we saw in Qualifier 2, Emil and Gudenbrett. They qualified for the upper bracket with how well they were playing on that day. So unfortunately enough, they popped out, they got their spot here, but in game 2, they go down early, and that's removing the opportunities for them to start to place high on a leaderboard. So if the trend does continue, they continue to have these lackluster performances off of spawn, we might see them in game 5 with all or nothing.
We took a quick break now. Round 2 of the early game engagement. Is it gonna happen? I don't think so. You can look at the mini-map. Kyrie and Bad Sniper now have a bit more time to breathe and loot up the rest of this POI, as their opponents have chosen to disengage. The issue is there are some more duos in the surrounding area, so potentially they could get some shots taken on them during their rotate, but so far I don't think anything significantly dangerous is going to happen for either team.
It's not just yet, as Dale Reason already starting off with 1 elimination, 1v1. Good thing Vidya was there. Quickly peeks through that cover, making sure that there's a strength in numbers. Reason does go down, going for that trade, but it's almost no worry at all, unless you got to look at Gears and Chari over in the distance. Did they hear this fight? That's the biggest question we have to ask.
Do they know? Is the big question. In these lobbies, that's a set lobby of 50 duos, especially in this level of Fortnite competitive, you can expect these players to know which duos are dropping in the surrounding area. So when they see on the feed that specific player or duo has gotten themselves into an elimination, you see Nox and Elims happening on the feed, they can kind of open up that option to go in for the third party with a little freedom, knowing you might have that HP and shield advantage. Took a look at how Vidil kind of clutched that up.
I feel like this is one of the first times this season I'm seeing Marius and Sandguild not land towards the underworld. But their performances towards the underworld left some to be desired, so I do like them switching it up as well, especially when it matters most. Just in game one, we saw them in a tough situation, going down. I do believe it was just kind of on the outskirts of the zone. So if they can start these rotations just a little bit sooner, start solidifying a good surge base, they won't have to worry about it and fight for it later in a much riskier scenario.
Chapentini once again making use of that natural mobility on the current map. Gonna try and make their way over to the forecast tower. And you can see there's another duo kind of looking over at them. I think we saw not a full-on engagement in the previous match, but definitely some duos taking shots at each other here.
Surprised. They land at Nitrodrome. They loot it up very, very quickly, and they just immediately beeline it towards that forecast tower. And it's something that they've had in every single one of their game plans, and that's one of the few forecast towers that has about an 80% spawn rate. So that's a huge consistent in their game plan, and it's huge for their success in rotating around these zones, knowing where to go, and knowing how long you can actually stagger yourself back before you need to rotate.
Here we can see Cammy and Seti. Although they already have one elimination, they're still kind of looking for options to do a bit of damage, even kind of the split they have here of multiple angles. As we switch over to another fight that's been going on.
Focus and Belusi. They know at least one player is down there. They got one elimination. So it's just about finding this solo, being able to clean it up. But how much space does the solo have down below? How much of it is his? Because you know as well as I do, when you're in these tough situations, you build, you make space, and it makes it easier for you to go in and out of these builds and kind of defend yourself. And I think that's the hesitation from them dropping down and trying to fight it.
What I like about these semifinals is a good mix of competition and skill. I mean, you've got a total of 495 FNCS finals appearances, 23 titles, but at the same time, you got 25 players competing for their first ever FNCS finals. So you got to be careful with the Titans that might be playing aggressive. As Belusi and Focus are trying to connect that last shot needed for this elimination, but the more time they take, the more difficulties they'll have later on. Maybe took a bit more damage than what they wanted to. However, they secured the 2 elims. They got a bit of extra loot now, and it could have been worse.
Our first sighting of the new POI, Shipwreck Shallows. We don't get a clean look at it, but I saw this kind of area of map was at least triple contested, maybe even a 4th team, and I think that eases up the pressure of having to make that big risk to fight what was such little loot over here, and I think the addition of this just in time to allow a little bit more flexibility in these lobbies. Squeezy and Thomas from Classy Courts rotating all the way down.
Quickly, too. Chicho in his surge base, you can see from afar. As Potosai and Snazy are still up here by Mount Olympus, trying to do what they can to hold the rotation from the opponents here. This is a good opportunity to get a bit of damage without putting yourself in much of a risk. But you do have to connect those shots.
Yeah, it's something we've seen a lot of teams do, and even though they can beeline into zone, if they backtrack just a little bit outside of Mount Olympus, they can Flowberry Fizz, they can launch pad back there, try to pick a much better spot. So there's a luxury here for Potosai and Snazy, staggering themselves back as long as they have the HP, whether it's a Colo or a Medkit. That's going to be the big defining factor of this game plan. Asizi beat Nathan. already here in a scuffle towards this top side of the map, towards Classy Courts, and they don't want anything of it. They see the zone is pushing on over towards the north, and they know more and more teams will begin to rotate in this direction, so they got to make these decisions very, very quickly. Am I fighting? Am I disengaging? And with 2 more teams closing on that distance, potential threats, I do like this decision from Nathan and CZB just to disengage, get a better spot, maybe even a little bit more elevation, and set up shop there.
Nathan CZB are a duo that held tight in more games than any other duo during the qualifiers. So although we saw Thomas HD and Queasy go for it in game 1, maybe this time around we'll see things get shooken up a little bit. Swizzy here, current, well, tied actually for the Elim leads now, as Swizzy I believe had 7 eliminations by himself in the previous match, so hopefully they can keep that momentum going as well. It is going to be a north zone close to Lavish Lair, so all these duos you can see on the southern side of the map will have to make a significant rotate. But like we've mentioned previously, with all the natural mobility on the map, the nitro rings, the flow berries, the cactuses, you can get to zone quite quickly without having to risk too much.
I feel like that's been majority of their game plan, even their championship win. They're not necessarily a team that likes to frag out, get a high number of eliminations. They like to play more of a steady, calculated game plan. I think a lot of teams this season have been taking a step back from just all-out aggression and trying to put more strategy, more methodical plays kind of into the mix. I'm not saying everybody, though, because you do see some pushes coming out, especially a team like Chapentini. So I'm looking at Slove and Nate over towards Grim Gates. They do know a team is here, but you can see how long it's actually taking Takata because there's so much risk turning around any one of these corners and not necessarily knowing exactly where your opponent's at.
Yeah, you gotta be careful with so many builds as well. Metal structures, you can't really see if anyone's hiding inside of a cone. As Slove was looking for an angle, but with unable to find one, now they're forced to go head on in if it's what they're looking to do. The nitros pop, the shots are connecting, but Slove is gonna get knocked down. Nate as well, 28 HP, just 1 shot away from getting eliminated. They have secured a knock, but without having the HP and shield advantage, Various plays aggressive here. It might just be enough.
He does. Let's say he has the advantage of knowing that knock is there, but Nate did heal up, so it's about an even fight between the two. Oh, peek out to the side. No sneaky plays for you. Quickly gets denied entry. Nate now going on the offensive, knowing he has a massive HP lead. Even baiting out the revive, forcing him in. Hook, line, and sinker. That's how you catch a fish, Takata.
Great way to close it out. Even going to be able to pick up his duo partner without having to reboot him. As we'll quickly change on over to Marius and Sangild. We're in a 2 versus 1 against Scroll. Edit comes through. Not a shot going to be connected yet, but the good news is for Marius and Sangild, their opponent has already been cracked, basically. So as long as they play it calm and collected here and land that initial shot, it shouldn't be much of a problem for them. They just can't find him, Jacob.
Yeah, he's just sneaking around. Finally, he goes down altogether. And they do have the med kits, they have the cola, they have a lot of heals, and they're just a hop and skip and jumping away from the zone, or at least for now. See where it rotates from here, but they've done their job. They got their early game surge, and they got the loot that they at least feel comfortable with at this stage in the game.
Ooh, and here we have Merstash and Malabuka. For the second season in a row, they're the most contested duo. And I mean, with over 80% of these set lobby games this season being won by uncontested duos, you don't want to be the most contested duo 2 seasons in a row, Jacob. But Merstash and Malabuka, they want those powerful POIs, and you got to fight for them.
Yeah, and I don't expect them to be down on Surge in this game like they were in that last game. Especially with the red line rig medallion that grants you shields. You could be a little bit more risky, take some shots. And now with Rift Island, I'm seeing a couple teams try to battle for it early on. Tarp's a little bit of a mistake there, but he has to watch out because there's still so many other teams directly towards Rift Island and on the outskirts that can try to move in this direction at a moment's notice.
Yeah, you got the mix of players just boxing up around the rift so they can use to rotate later. Other players trying to get the flag to capture Rift Island. And others just taking shots at the party to do a bit of damage, as they know there's almost confirmed going to be a few duos here at least. that you can potentially take some shots at. So whether you want Storm Surge, whether you want to plan your rotation with the Rifts, or even just secure a bit of extra loot from capturing that flag, Rift Island's a good place to be.
Yeah, and Tarps Hanoi is a team that they get the majority of their points through placement. It's not necessarily big eliminations, big fights. They get their loot that way. These guys kind of just scrap together a good game. Throughout the qualifiers, at least 6 games, 138 points, 73% of those points, almost 74, were just placement alone, which kind of makes a little bit tougher of a situation to get a big win when you're kind of playing that slow and steady game.
Taking a look at Lixie and Vico. You can see they know that Pixie and Yanis are here ahead of them. I wonder if they're planning to get maybe a 3-2-1 or just a bit of shots on before making their way into zone. But if you look, there's even 2 duos already boxed up inside of the zone ahead of them, so they might be looking back if they end up rotating in, or they might even be fighting each other. Now that I look at it, they're so close. But Pixie and Yanis don't look like they're in too much of a rush. They are missing a lot of materials though, so that could be why.
And they got to be careful. This goes down to one of those heal-off scenarios. We know Storm Sickness has been a huge difference maker. Malabuka Mustache. We saw them in the distance trying to get surge. Now they're 400 above. And there's a couple teams near them. They're feeling just a little bit more confident to try to push up. As High Drop and Wrist, one's directly there. Tidy and Lens just on the other side. And then 2, 3, 4 more teams on the outskirts that could look in this direction. One more just joining the fight, maybe on top or trying to use the Nitro Ring on that bridge to try to get out. Either way, this is becoming more and more of a dangerous situation to be in.
Yeah, I mean, we saw what happened to Mustache and Malabuka in the previous match. They do not want to let that repeat itself, as damage has been secured. But for Harris and iDrop, they have a long ways to go with just 31 above. Could go below it any second now. As the pressure is on, the chaos continues. Players getting eliminated left and right, but it's going to be iDrop that actually secured one of those eliminations, bringing them up to 154 above alongside that extra loot. This should give them a little peace of mind where they can kind of focus up, re-loot, and plan their rotate.
Yeah, they get like a fresher breath there right now. And because everything is slowed down, look at the direction they're at. They can Flowberry, they can Crash Pad and try to get on over all of this madness. You see Malabuka Mustache using the Nitro Ring. They're trying to be one of the first teams out of this position. Because you saw literally moments ago, there was at least 4 or 5 teams fighting here. And really not having a focal point of where to go after, just fighting the next person next to you. And because they saw so many teams already rotate across the bridge and use the Nitro, Tidy and Lens feel like they have no choice but to use the Flowberry Fizz and the Crash Pad, which might work out for them. They got Polish boxed up. Tidy's being careful. The ramp is there, and that's a huge difference maker. He's just getting downed out in an instant. Polish may not have seen it coming, but it feels like he was prepared.
Tidy unable to replace the Kona wrap in the box, leading to a couple missed shots is what caused his demise. Now his duo partner has been left alone. The opponents know that there's a solo close by. Issue is with zone closing, you normally don't want to waste too much time in these engagements, but if you look at the minimap, it's not too far from them. They might take the risk, but to be fair, it's probably safer to just get boxed in. I think they actually already have a metal box in zone, and they just kind of tart back to the loot, so they should be safer now. Seeing that the zone has pulled a little further away, though, they'll have to rotate quite the ways, so we'll see what plan they have.
Yeah, just they have a good amount of med kits as well. Just on the outside of zone, trying to reassess the situation. I do sense a little bit of a Crash Pad play coming out. Otherwise, that far pull means they're going to have one of the farthest and hardest journeys to try to get to zone as possible. Chris and iDrop are feeling that same pain, and 118 below the threshold. The far pull and a lot of work to do before you feel safe and get there.
Yeah, this is not the position you want to be in this time around, even with the snipes close by. A lot of damage to do and not a lot of opportunity close by. They might have to make a Mustache Malabuka type of play where they just full on go aggressive, because as the clock's ticking, players aren't getting eliminated and they're running out of time.
I'm wondering what's the gold like. There is a little mending machine right there. Even if it's empty in terms of med kits, if you have enough gold, you can get 50 HP, double heal up, use it just a little bit more. You're 92 below surge. You got to use every tool in your tool belt if you're looking to survive, because the damage right now is just so unforgiving, not really giving them a chance at all, and it needs to still go down to about 26 players.
20 HP, just one tick left. Eye drop goes down. Haris now has to become a one-man army. Unfortunately, one bullet is going to be all it takes to knock him back to the lobby. Queasy now, has he been left alone? Thomas HD has been eliminated as well. Looking to take some shots back in the zone, but he's got to focus on the rotation, being so far away. The crash pad's going to be used, the cola as well. Is it enough though, Jacob?
I'm not sure. He's 221 above, and that's good right now for this zone, but he's trying to make it up this mountain. He does have an odd build, but he's just getting pressured, shot right back down, falling in place. He's trying to do everything that he can, but it's just too much to try to survive. He's gonna fall. Queasy and Thomas are out. And I said 26, it needed to go down to 50, so still 5 more players need to go down. And even after that, it's gonna have to drop down to 40. So whether you're above surge, below surge, know that storm surge stress is not gonna stop or slow down anytime soon.
Eyes were on Queasy, as now Artist. 279 above. Not too much pressure on this duo's shoulders to get that damage. What a refresh as well. Medallion, mythic loot. That is a good setup for the rest of this match as we take a look at Chap and Teeny. Curious to the loadout, how they're looking. Chap, not too healthy in terms of shields, but weapons, materials, damage, all in the positive.
I believe they have the forecast tower as well, but look at that. The damage threshold in the next one with 10 teams or players needing to go down in this next zone. It's just going to be one of those to where you never feel comfortable no matter how much surge you have, especially on this edge of the zone where there's so many teams both above you and below you where they can just try to chop you down, put shots in your box and try to drop on you at a moment's notice. That's why you see Chicho, Trulex trying to stagger themselves as much as possible. Even though they already have a position in zone, they're trying to look at the most common paths anybody's going to rotate, and that's why you see them looking in bushes, looking back at that nitro ring to try to get as much damage as possible.
Shots not connecting. 84 above. The pressure is on as now shortly they might be forced into a rough situation. All it's going to take is a couple tags, though. They're doing a good job looking back in the zone to who's rotating in a bit late, but unfortunately, there's just one player that they can take some shots on. Luckily enough, though, those shots were connected. Cammy going to be on the receiving end as well. Now almost 200 above, but the issue is, Jacob, look at that zone. Opposite side of the map. Not a single player on that side of the zone currently. So the whole lobby awaits a difficult rotate.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about too, when you're just stacked up on the other side of the lobby just like this. You're just getting tagged up, focused from all directions. You don't know exactly where that entry point is going to come from, and it was above there in that moment as Malibuca now left by himself. Mustache is down. Storm Surge once again being a defining factor in the game plan of Mustache and Malibuca, and it's not a positive factor at all.
Gotta be careful here. They were looking so healthy from 427 above the Storm Surge threshold to all of a sudden 53 below. What went wrong? Have they played too aggressive once again? Issue is, those are the only options to be able to come out on top, as Malibuca is going to be forced to clutch it out as a solo. But it's going to be incredibly difficult with the amount of damage he has to do.
Yeah, but the problem right here is Malibuca has very little stress from what you'd think, because if he starts taking Storm Surge damage, drop the coin, pick it back up, it'll at least do enough to where you can stay alive and heal it longer. Malibuca goes for it all or nothing on to Nathan and CZB, and that's a big shutdown. And that is a huge blessing for them, because now they've gotten the medallion, they've gotten the mythic loot, and a huge refresh on materials.
What a way to find an impact, is now trying to get ahead of zone, but the pressure has been put onto them. Luckily enough, they have more than enough builds to focus the pressure onto opposing duos. Now Seti playing alone. A lot more solos this time around. 35 players up, 19 duos. As the zone is going to pull across the river here, Jacob.
He has just one charge on the Flowberry Fizz, and that's why the information he's gathering here, peeking through the cone, is so vital. Trying to figure out where these duos are at, where are the solos, what's going to be the perfect rotation. When and where I start to make the rotation is going to be just as impactful. Flixie and Vico looking down from above, 99 below the damage threshold and continuously falling, but they want to make sure to get their spot first. Don't drop down unless they have to, and they try to make a sneak attack onto a team. They get in front of them ahead of zone, and that's going to give them the luxury to be able to look back and try to get the damage they need, but it's comeback for Hawa on the other side. Flixie, Vico still scrambling around, haven't really had a chance to fire a shot just yet, so they're still falling further and further below.
Tags is what they were looking for. Unfortunately, they put themselves in the most popular area of the whole lobby with every duo dropping in their surroundings. Luckily enough, they made it out of that sticky situation, but Teeny and Chap now looking quite strong. 5 eliminations. All they have to do is heal up a little bit here. I like the layer they're on as well. They have a lot of opportunity to look down in their surroundings for a bit more tags.
Do have a crash pad, so high ground is definitely going to be a possibility. Fnatic and Della, they got to be careful. 10th zone seemingly just a little bit too early, especially for situations like that, but that was just too far off to make any bit of impact. They saw it from a mile away and quickly connected some shots, and as soon as they see more and more teams trying to threaten the high ground, they dash right on over, and Nathan and CZB, because they were the ones trying to go for it, they gave a free connection and free high ground back on over to Fnatic and Della, even though it got chopped down.
Yeah, they couldn't connect to their old builds, but they were able to make a new height there. Fnatic did a great job of staying ahead, making sure that the opponents know they're still healthy on materials and able to hold on to that high ground. But Nathan and CZB, they don't care. They want that position. They want to be in the clouds, and they've done it.
A team that has just fallen under the radar for one too many weeks are ready to just shine bright here in a moment like this, but there's still one player back there. They can threaten a chop and everything come crashing down for Nathan and CZB, because everybody that's on that ultimate low ground does not have a chance to look up. They do not have a chance to defend themselves, and that's why Nathan and CZB, they get a free drop from that elevation, just trying to make sure to seal the deal.
Nathan, CZB, the duo that held height more than any other duo during the qualifiers, are here once again with the same game plan, trying to use it as that golden ticket to the grand finals. All they have to do is hold on strong. The issue is, it looks like they're using wood. I think they're out of hard mats here. They're going to be forced to take some shots down below, just like Clownsky is doing here. Nice little elimination, but he gets cracked and eliminated.
Everything comes crashing down, including Chap. Now Teeny's left by himself. Double shotgun's in the inventory. You know he's got to drop one, doesn't want that delay, so it's going to be very, very tight here for him, but he's not ready to back down just yet. Doesn't want to go down low into the mud where all the chaos is really ensuing. He's trying to be that meat in the middle of the sandwich. He's trying to go through unnoticed. There's teams above and below all trying to bypass him, and they haven't even seen him just yet.
Oh, be careful, though, as this duo is looking incredibly strong, staying ahead, but they got to be careful. No. Duo partner's gone down. Layer change, now up above. Has some opportunities to take shots on for 9, but he's got to be careful.
Trulex and Chicho picking up some big eliminations. Roller coaster of emotions in terms of the zone. Down goes Chicho. Trulex now by himself. 5 different med kits. The first already going to be used. What do they have on the other side? Because it looks like a bunch of solos. CZB taken down on the high ground. Teeny's still by himself. No med kits, no HP. Almost looks like no chance.
Do they know, though? You said 5 medkits in the zone for the heal off, but it looks like it's Tierney and Fnatic. The last battle here within the zone. Meanwhile, Trulex, calm, collected, using medkit after medkit. Will he have enough?
5 medkits. He's probably going to run into Storm Sickness eventually, letting these two guys battle out. Teeny's trying to drop layer by layer to get a surprise attack on Fnatic. It works, but Fnatic living with just 3 HP. No medkits, no heals. He's like a flopper in the middle of the water right now, and Trulex is just healing off. Storm Sickness doesn't make a play. No, it does not. Trulex cancels the own medkit, finishes the deal. Trulex and Chicho, welcome to the EU FNCS Grand Finals.
What a close way to finish off the match. Staying in zone, popping medkit after medkit. But once he used that last medkit with just 11 HP, 2 ticks away from getting eliminated to Storm, he secures that final shot on his opponent that had just 3 HP and booked his ticket to the grand finals. What a way to close out the second match of the day.
Yeah, looked so tough for a lot of these teams. You saw the zone going up mountains, down mountains, over water, cross rivers. Trulex and Chicho were put to an ultimate test, and they knew perfectly. Everybody was in shambles. No real builds, no real med kits. I have 5. Let me just start my heal off early, and it worked to perfection. Nobody was in the zone left with anything but maybe just a sliver of HP.
What a way to close it out. It's interesting, too. I mean, both matches that have been won today have been won by returning duos from previous majors. So it shows that that duo chemistry is important, but we've still got a lot to break down. So we're going to go to a quick break, and then we'll be right back for a way more action. See you soon.
Hello and welcome back to FNCS. And that was a very different game number 2. It ended in a 3-way solo showdown mini minor, but it was Trulex who came out on top in the end.
Yeah, it was. This time it was Trulex who had the medkits. In game number 1, we saw Chicho and Trulex. They didn't have the medkits to play, but we know everything about this duo is to do with medkits when it comes to the end games. They're always carrying them, and of course they made it count right there. It was a bit of a difficult one though, because I thought maybe he played it a little bit too early, but Trulex knows best and he knows how to win.
Yeah, it's not been the best day for Truelex and Chicho. Obviously, the shipwreck POI got added and the cannons are in comp, so I'm sure they were a bit worried about the safety of their surge bases, and they're not letting that get to them. They're still performing at high levels, impressive in that first game, even more so here in the second game. A lot of the time when we see Truelex and Chicho go for these medkit plays, it's typically to just put them in a situation where they are just in like a top 5, right? It's rarely ever like a game-winning play for them, especially because in a lot of situations, they're medkitting early. Even in this situation where Truelex ends up winning, it is an earlier medkit. In a lot of other games, maybe more stats games, you'd think he doesn't win the game from that position. But in this lobby, makes the best of the situation. And of course, Fanayan was literally just one shot of anything away from being eliminated. And Truelex capitalizes.
I mean, what did we think of Fanayan and Della in that one? Because it looked like maybe they were trying to take high ground perilously early, going for it from zone 9. They nearly got chopped down, but they held on, Levin.
I mean, yeah, look, it's been an interesting meta for height. I think it's changed so much throughout, and a lot more teams, now that things have sort of calmed down, settled down, are looking for it more optimistically.
Yeah, it can be quite difficult to hold height as well when you're a team that are up there, of course, with these crash pads. There's almost no audio when someone crash pads up onto you, particularly using that fizz as well. So the way they were able to hold it was really good. Of course, it didn't quite work out for them in the end, but a nice, solid game for these guys. We haven't really spoken too much about this duo, but promising signs from these guys.
Well, let's take a look at the standings and see where we're at after that game. Don't forget our top 2 duos on the leaderboard have already qualified for next week's grand finals, because if you get a victory royale on day number 1 or 2 of the semi-finals, you book yourself a golden ticket all the way there. So that means, sadly, we're not going to actually see Truelex and Chicho or Q&D and Phantom play again this weekend, but we've got next weekend to look forward to. And you know what? Regardless of whether they get a victory royale or not, I think we're going to see CCP and Nathan definitely challenging for the Axe of Champions next weekend, Minimana, judging by the way they're playing so far.
Yeah, they've been playing well for a couple of seasons now. I know the caster spoke about how important it is to stick together, and these guys have been sticking together for the entire chapter. They seem to make their drop spot work out really well as well. The Grand Glacier, it just seems like they've been able to learn all the strategies from there, and they've been able to make end games consistently, which is something that other teams that have landed there have struggled with. But this team, they're looking consistent. That's a 3rd place in the first game, a 4th place in that game, and that's exactly what I was talking about these crash pads, jumping up there, taking the team on height by surprise and holding on to it. This could be a new sort of facet to their game. We haven't seen them on height too much throughout their time playing together. They're sort of more known as a mid to low ground team, but it seems like they're able to just perform under any circumstances.
I know you're excited about how they've been playing, Frankie, but I never thought I've heard someone make that expression, that noise out of excitement about how good a team is this season. That was a new one for me. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I might have been slightly choking on my own words. I'm not gonna lie. I thought no one noticed, but obviously you did.
I'll never let you
Thanks,
live it down.
Thanks so much. But you know what? We saw some versatility from this duo as well, because game number 1, they were challenging so successfully from the low ground, obviously going for the high ground challenge this time around. So yeah, I'm genuinely excited for this duo. And obviously, Mini Miner, I'm excited for Chap and Teeny too, because I would be so surprised if they have not taken a victory royale by the end of this weekend.
Yeah, they're a team on form this season, of course, coming off of a really, really good season last season as well. I mean, we mentioned it so many times. It was Chap's first grand finals last season, and this season looks set up for another really good one for them. Even there, just having the ability to take height. I think it was Teeny there at the end, wasn't it, who was just on height as a solo. He had to drop down, try and make the play happen, but unfortunately, it was actually the Storm that ended up taking him out at the end. But solid stuff from this team, solid stuff from the duo that we know can do so much. 4th and the 3rd place so far, but I don't think it's consistency what they're going for, Levin. It's that big game win.
Yeah, no, they're going for the win. I think if you look at most people's lists and predictions for this weekend, a lot of them are in, you know, Chap and Teeny are going to be game winners, right? A lot of people think that's what they're going to do, and they've definitely shown the capability to do so. I think it is just a matter of time, a bit of luck sometimes, just to get yourself over the line. It's a shame, you know, we're not seeing any 30 bombs and 20 bombs from like we did last season in the semis, but of course, that was in lower bracket. This is the upper bracket, a bit more difficult for them, and they are a bit wiser in their ways when it comes to the W key, and it feels like right now.
I think there's still time. Don't
true.
doubt them. I think maybe by Sunday we'll see some showing off. Looking at page number 2, though, Seti and Cammy not having such a great game too. I'm trying to see if we can see Mursash and Malabuka in there, and we can't. And they are the most con team yet again. They're gluttons for punishment over at Redline Brick. Do you think this is what's costing them a space potentially in the upper bracket lobby tomorrow, 11?
No.
They'll make it. It's Mustache and Malibu.
They'll make it. They're definitely going to be in the upper bracket tomorrow. Okay, that is a not very bold prediction, as you would expect from this analyst desk here in Europe. So let's head over to our favorite token Americans. It's Takaz and Jacob PR for game number 3.
Bro said, nah. Now they're making it. They're making it easily, just like Chap and Teeny did in the most recent match, which you know what that means, Jacob? It means in other spots opened up on the map. I believe they dropped like a little southeast of Lavish Lair and kind of like a split drop. So we'll have to see what happens. The engine's running, the battle bus is ready, so let's head right on into the next match.
I think this is officially the halfway point since it's 5 games instead of 6. So this is where I begin. After game 3, depending on what shakes down here, where you're at in the leaderboard starts to become more and more impactful in terms of the rest of your FNCS semifinals journey and the chances that you have to make to the grand finals.
Taking a look at the bus here, we've seen a lot of kind of the engagement that happens by Brawler's Battleground in the early game. We haven't seen full-on fights come to a conclusion, though. It's normally like you take some pop shots, do a bit of damage, but then after that, not much more happens for Mooney and Lunex, though. They are going to take some shots on Cade and his duo. Unfortunately, a little bit more aim training might have to be put to use as they continue with their loot path.
Not too bad of an early game start. They got a lot of metal, not a lot of loot per se, but they do have the launch pad towards the top. And then, you know, we talked about the new POI that's in the center of the map. Towards the outskirts, there is a new ship as well where you can kind of try to scrap together as much loot as possible.
Gunbury and Emil, we saw what happened to them in the last match. Hopefully, they can turn the tables this time around. Currently trying to connect some shots from afar, but unfortunately, they're going to be the receiving end of the damage here.
Where I would love to see them kind of both try to disengage out, get us better spot, move in. The zone is already moving up towards the north. You can kind of tell by the outskirts being here. There's maybe some water still in on the very, very top side. So there is a lot of time before they're forced to have to run in. They don't necessarily have to go out in a fight like this, but when you split loot on a little PI like this in the center of the map, usually fights do break out. And so far today, we've been seeing a lot of these finish.
Finn now. Nice connections. All it's going to take is one quick shotgun shot, but he's not going to be able to connect a big enough one. Drop to 10 HP. Now the danger's on. Caution levels rising as his duo partner has been knocked and eliminated. The 2v1 begins. It's doable, though.
Oh, it's 100%.
Belusi. Yeah, Belusi and his duo are both low on HP. The issue is the more time that they take healing up, the harder it's going to be for Finn here to clutch it up. As he decides now's the time to engage. He also is healed up a little bit, but the crack comes through. And Finn's third match is quickly going to come to an end.
Yeah, he tried to drop down, land some shots onto Belusi, but because there's 2 of them, focus instantly went up on another part of those builds and hit a nice sneak shot to take him down. Vico and Flixie looking like they already won their battle over on this side of the map. I did see the first elimination in the feed. Second one, not so much, but once again, another team defending their throne.
Close to the Grand Glacier here. Let's see how Vico actually got these 2 eliminations. Take a quick look at it. Looks like they did have the advantage in this fight. It was kind of a quick cleanup, most likely from the shots they did previously from afar. Good way to use the Nitro, though, and not waste a lot of HP or shield to finish that one up.
Ooh. We were talking about this to start it off, a fight that usually doesn't have an ending. This time around, Yanis and Pixie were able to defend the Brawlers, but another team, Voltiax coming in and great damage onto Yanis very, very early on. He's getting dropped, leaving Pixie by himself, who's meeting that same fate, just a sliver of HP and even less shield. He's trying to get time for the Cola to heal up as much as possible, but they are hot on the heels. There's only so much Pixie's gonna be able to get in this situation before he has to stop, stagger, and heal up the rest.
Crash pad comes through. Voltiax and Cool continuing with the aggression as they know
Oh, no,
that Pixie's low, but they got a little lost. They said, did he go in the bush? No, he did not. he kept on running away. So looks like Pixie's gonna have a long game. Gonna have to play it slow, recuperating loot, materials, eventually the reboot card, eventually the reboot, and then having both players loot up. It's gonna be a long run, but anything's possible, especially so early on in this match. For Cole and Voltiax, though, they're just gonna have to continue with their game plan.
And see how this fight actually started. Literally right out of the gates. Almost looked like good floor loot for Pixie. The Nitro, the Thunder Burst, and immediately see Kyrie trying to follow up and as much damage as possible. Even with him going down, Giannis is there. Just kind of lend that helping hand, get the revive, but it only gonna last for so long as Pixie was forced to disengage. He had to leave Giannis' reboot card all the way back there, but because the zone is moving towards the north, this is gonna be best case scenario for Pixie to try to get his teammate back into the game.
Campfire comes through. And now the marathon begins for Pixie. As we take a look here, Blurfire, Braxel on the aggressing end here. But quickly enough, I'm not sure if this is a disengagement or just a reposition. As I don't know if Ping and Walks want to stop this fight entirely. But with the dashes in hand, you can quickly make it out.
Yeah, two teams have been contesting each other all day long at the Underworld. Just because you leave the Underworld doesn't mean the fight stops. It's going to be their best shot to try to get Surge and towards the outskirts. With Marius going down, we did see that momentarily. They have changed up their drop spot to try to contest Rebel's Roost, and so far it's just not working out for them.
I don't think either duo here wants to completely play out a full battle. It's more just kind of take shots at each other, do a bit of damage, and get that Storm Surge. That damage you need to not get affected by Storm Surge later on in the match. Chapantini once again, though, claiming that forecast tower.
You see it on one side of the map, and it's something that they've been getting almost all FNCS long. I was going to say all day long. It's only been a couple of games, but that's been the key to their strategy from Nitro Drone. We already saw it early on. They take the rings. They waste no time moving on over the direction. It's an 80% spawn rate, so they kind of make it a focal point, part of their strategy. Malibuca and Mustache quickly running up. First couple of games have not been the most fun when it comes to Storm Surge, and I want to see them use this medallion to their benefit just a little bit more. Don't be scared to trade shots in the distance because you know you're going to get the shield back.
What's interesting about Mustache and Malibuca, I mentioned it earlier, they've been the most contested duo in the past couple seasons, but the issue is today in these semifinals, they're not contested, and we've seen a lot of their issues arise from not having enough damage. I wonder if it's because they've just been so used to fighting off spawn and getting those tags off spawn that they might have just been put into tough situations in the mid game now without having enough damage and being forced into those aggressive plays that are a bit risky. And if the odds aren't in your favor during that aggression, it can lead you to getting eliminated or even just using a lot of your loot. But there's still a few matches to be played out. We'll see how they adapt. They are some of the most experienced players in the lobby, if not the most. So we'll have to see how they do end up closing it out.
And another zone where it is pulling up towards the north. So a lot of those south teams, and I know you mentioned Malibuca, Mustache, you know, a lot of these south teams now having to make adjustments from maybe what they've practiced, always going towards the south side of the map. So it's just like another wrench into the whole mix. You're really going to have to think on the fly. But for other teams, particularly Queasy and Thomas, I feel like it's been faring well for them. They made a lot of rotations early on in the first couple of games to go towards the south side of the map. But once again, the zone is moving towards the north. And this time around, it does look like they're staying much longer on this side of the map than what they have in game past.
Just a quick reminder as well regarding Storm Surge. If you're new to this, Storm Surge is a mechanic in these competitive modes where if you haven't done enough damage throughout the match, depending on the zone, you will get penalized by these kind of lightning bolts that fall from the sky and damage you every couple seconds. So that's why a lot of these players are focused on doing as much damage as possible so they can avoid losing HP later on in the match. Slove Nate, though, quick surprise attack onto Karmi. Unfortunate way to go down, to be fair, but you've got to be aware of your surroundings. You got to be ready for those sneaky plays. Nathan already with an elimination on the board.
Just kind of looking right now. It does look like they're eyeing onto that bunker that you do see towards the south. No team is currently positioned there. And I feel like once they see that it is uncontested, they're going to try to claim it for themselves. But over towards Classy, Thomas, Queasy, they don't have to travel for their surge, but they still need it at the end of the day. And Monier's the one that's getting pressed for it now. Queasy on the other side. Thomas basically has this one in the bag, just a sliver of HP, a little bit more shield, but not enough to feel confidence going against two heavyweights when it comes to Fortnite, especially when they're pressuring consistently from two different angles. Lunex takes another big shot from Queasy on the other side, but it is going to be a trade that slows Queasy down momentarily.
Thomas HD applying pressure to multiple angles, but he's got to be careful as Lunex does connect the shot. Still 20 shield as he's going to choose to regroup with Queasy here. Heal up a bit potentially. I'm wondering, are they going to fully close this out, or are they just trying to do a bit of damage from the aggression? It makes me feel like they almost do want to finish this engagement off as they're going to heal back up to full HP and shield. Nitro is going to be popped. And it looks like the aggression might continue.
Team just kind of spray down some of these builds. And now that they've ventured over into the house, it's going to be a little bit more of a fight for piece control, but they're just hunkering down on that first floor. Queasy playing very, very sneaky on the other side. A lot of the movement audio is going to be Thomas trying to just distract them. There goes Queasy. Tries to fire that first shot. Doesn't do much damage, but you got to give him an A for the attempt as Monier gets caught slipping there for a quick second. Not big shots. No confidence building shots. Just enough to build momentum. Queasy and Thomas are not stopping. They're not slowing down. Oh. Thomas gets dropped into the box at the wrong time. Two different angles, but it is going to be a trade. Queasy finally fighting back, getting a drop onto one, so it is going to come down to a 1v1. That's not going to stay that for long. A third-party team has now entered into the mix.
What has gone wrong? Queasy now has been left alone. He has to make the tough decision. Does he fight this one out? Does he disengage and come back later with a third party coming through now having finished? It's not the position I want to be in.
Nah, down goes Queasy. Down goes Thomas. And do you think that does anything mentally? They move towards the south, zone towards north. They stay in the north. They go down to a third party, essentially. And I feel like that frustration it's starting to set in for a team like Queasy and Thomas.
I mean, all it takes is one good game. We know how much Queasy and Thomas like playing the high ground. A majority of VRs have come from high ground throughout these semifinals. So we'll have to see if they're able to get one of them. For Teeny, though, he has lost chat.
Did he get the reboot card right now? Because they're so far out of zone, and you really see nobody in the mini-map. You even see here as he fly overhead. There's a realistic possibility he's going to get his teammate back. We'll find out soon, because now Rift Island is about to appear, and we already got two teams threatening to try to move up. Ju and Asa is going to be one of them. Frazi and Flawless down below. They're not going to move up and try to contest it just yet.
Oh, wow. I was going to say, it looks like they're going to get a pretty free Rift Island here, but right as it's about to speak, a little snipe comes through. Luckily enough, though, no aggression has came from the crack. Chari, though, and Giraz up against Clownski. Deep into the storm. I feel like they kind of want to finish this one off, to be fair. Look at Clownski's HP as well. He might just get eliminated to zone. Yep. There it is.
And I'm just trying to look, med kits, they have a cola, fruits and vegetables, and now they have Vidil and Reason entering out of nowhere. First shot's going to be a haymaker onto Chari. Vidil is there, and he goes back to back, takes one out, doesn't even flinch, turns target, takes them both out, and that's be a huge moment for Vidil and Reason, because now they get all that loot, they get the Storm Surge, there's a bunker nearby if they want it, or they can just try to beeline to zone.
So I love this kind of play style that we've seen from Reason and Vidil. Even Cammy and Seti, you can see them close by. These are the two duos that have spent the most time in the Storm throughout the matches today. 32 minutes for Reason and Vidil, and Cammy and Seti, 28 minutes in Storm. Part of that kind of consistent play style, making sure you make it to the end game. Looted up, kitted up, potential bunkers, and also potential tags. Looking at Merstash and Malibuka, though, looks like they have decided to play a bit more aggressive here on Rift Island. I talked about it earlier. There's going to be guaranteed duos up here, so if you want some damage, You have a lot of opportunities here to do it, either on the duos down below, trying to get the rifts, the duos up above, trying to capture the flag, or even if you claim the elevated position, you can take shots on the players rotating in the surrounding area. So for damage, it's a great place to be. But for Assa and Ju going up against Merstash and Malabuka, it's going to be a difficult place to beat.
Man, it's just tough in general for Malabuka and Merstash, because if this tournament were to end now, the threshold is 44 points. So they're 34 points down from getting into the consistency just to move into tomorrow if they don't get that victory royale. So challenging a Rift Island like this, proving that they're feeling the pressure. They're trying to take just a little bit more risk, and hopefully those risks will begin to pay off for them. Down on Surge the first couple of games, and they're really trying to change that here. We saw them move forward early on in this game, changing up their position, their game plan, not staggering themselves back as far, and now challenging for Rift Island. This could be the game. Malabuka and Merstash have woken up. The people keep poking the bear. Eventually, he's going to get angry.
Yanis and Pix here looking a bit angry as Pixie's already secured 3 elips just in 5th zone. They do have a bit of a way to rotate though, so I think they'll stop taking shots here. You can see they're kind of peeking around, looking for potential rotations. One's been found by Yanis, the Nitro's popped, and now they're gonna run on through. They have a lot of environmental cover here to block the line of sight from their opponents, be it the trees, the ridge, or even this massive bridge that has the train tracks on it. So a very good uncongested side of the map rotate. Nathan CZB. We have Nathan, who's actually leading all players with total eliminations today at 10. And he already has 2 more in this match. 570 above the damage threshold. This duo has been lethal so far today. All they're missing, Jacob, is that victory royale.
Yeah, I was talking about placements, you know, getting into tomorrow. They basically have it locked. Currently sitting first on the leaderboard, not counting those players who have 1,000 because of the win. So they already got their consistency down packed. They just need to be able to do that bit extra. That's been the hump that this team has just been unable to get over in season past. Getting the wins, showing up in these set lobbies. Today, they're looking like a whole different beast, and they just need to prove it by getting that win.
Pico Flixie using the Nitro Rings plus Flowberry Fizz to fly into the zone. And even potentially maybe find a bit of tags here, but do they really need it? Almost 1,000 above the damage threshold. I love this position too. You can see they're in the zone, on congested side on the north here. A Nitro Ring if they want to use it. And even they're quite elevated.
Giving themselves options. That's what you want going into an end game like this. Options, the information that you're able to gather and where you position. Seti and Cammy don't have that same option. They have to rotate all the way towards the east from just outside Lavish Layer. There's going to be a couple of teams and even some solos in Teeny that are trying to rotate on over. Teeny's ready to take a fight. He almost needs it. A solo with this amount of loot means it's only a matter of time, but now the pressure is on, expending the last bit of his build before Walkster takes him down. Teeny is out, and so is one of our forecast towers.
Walks and ping now. Gotta go pick up Teeny's loot. Wasn't much, but it's something. As we'll take a look at Merstash here, what was he able to do? Couple eliminations potentially. Nice little sneak attack, 1 knock. This is on the Rift Island. We saw this engagement happening before, and it looks like they were able to clean it up.
Just when they thought they were safe, just when they thought they can leave the island, nope, you're going to be stuck on this island. You can get your reboot cards next game. And a huge difference from games 1 and 2 to game 3. Malabuka and Merstash 652 above the threshold. Still climbing around those numbers. If you look at where they're at in zone, it had just opened up, which means they have one of the power positions with nobody really contesting them on this side of the map.
Ping walks once again. We can see the aggression come through. Nitro right into the box, connecting a shot onto Odin. Gold as well is cracked. Both players now just 1 shot away from getting knocked. Odin has been put down on his knees. His duo now left to run away as Walks tries to make it to the zone, but he's got to be careful. Just 14 shield and 20 HP as the builds come through. He's got to expand though. Make a nice base for his duo to come in. 1 Nitro splash left. A little Flowberry Fizz, but that was a close one.
Yeah, it's not really a feeling of confidence for either one of these guys. literally almost seconds away from going from a 2 to a 4 tick as well, even less HP as we jump into another fight. Pixie and Yanis with 3 eliminations so far. Akira is one of those, but Yanis gets separated just a little too far from Pixie. He's going to go down, leaving a lot of pressure on Pixie there for that moment.
I got scared for a moment. I thought he jumped off the bridge, but luckily enough, he connected. Pixie now with 3 elims looking to get that counter up. I don't know why. I've got a feeling, although he's lost Yanis, I've got faith that he's going to be able to continue. We'll see a quick replay of what went wrong. Yanis kind of got caught off guard from the backside there. But Pixie was able to disengage.
Yeah, almost felt like he really didn't see that one coming. He gets caught off guard, and that's all it is just a second of distraction, a second of separation. If a duo sees it, that's almost all the time that they need to either take you down or put you in a position to where you're going to go down shortly. It's Cammy and Seti just peeking through the cone, 500 damage above the threshold. A lot of our superstars in this game just having a much better performance now that they're able to kind of learn, feel out the lobby, figure out how a lot of people are playing and try to adapt on the fly. As Wox does the same thing, breaks through with the Nitro Splash, still 100 plus below the threshold though.
Wox looking to see if he can make the play happen. 108 below, a shot connects, gets the elimination. That's 3 now, as the loot has been recuperated. The damage though, still needs to look for more here. They have more than enough loot, but the pressure is still on.
Yeah, 47 below, 21 as Ping's finding a couple of shots, but you can see how thin that line is. As soon as they go up, they fall further below, so Lobby right now is being very, very active. They're trying to shield themselves. The focus is in this direction of the Lobby. Now Storm Surge is active. Their time is now ticking because they are on the clock. Only a couple more ticks they could take, but now they're backing up, trying to re-heal, reassess the situation. They do have some bandages, which could be a difference maker, but using them for 1 player instead of 2, with 7 of them even go down, this is not a situation I'd wish on my worst enemy.
25 duos, 47 players, so much to go down as the bandages get popped, the minis to try and out-heal the Storm Surge, but what they need are tags. They just don't have time to breathe, don't have time to look for options, as now drop the 10 shield, Flowberry Fizz forced to come out. Duo partner Ping gets knocked down. Wox now is gonna pick up all the spare loot, as Pixie is gonna be applying that pressure. We know Pixie's playing as a solo. He's lost his duo partner, but the confidence is there, as Pixie might continue on forwards. Gets both eliminations now, brought up to 5.
He only had a couple of seconds there regardless, and Pixie making some magic happen. Not only getting those elimination points, but placement points as well. Top 22, they've now just started to come in, and Pixie is making it worthwhile. Even if he has a slim chance at winning the game, he's trying to make sure they're in that top 25.
Nathan doing a good job of getting ahead of zone early here. I'm curious if they're just gonna stay with this box and move again, or even try and build up to have an angle on all the players rotating in. If they do go 1 box out, they'll have a lot of options to take shots onto players rotating in, but they want to conserve mats, it seems. They want to see where that zone is going to end up pulling, and unfortunately it pulls right back to where they came from. So they're going to do a nice edge of the zone rotation here. Hopefully it works out for them.
Yeah, they're quickly going across the bridge, trying to go to a least congested side, but if you look at the whole front side of the zone, it's just stacked with players, some low, some high. Others just waiting for an opportunity on a refresh. Top 20, it's getting ever so congested as we continue to move up this mountain, and this is where you have to be prepared. If you don't peek through that cone, see us going up the mountain, down the mountain, and you're not ready, a lot of builds, a lot of resources we expend with almost nothing to show for it.
Here, Voltiax and Cool have to have 2 things in mind. 1, get ahead of zone, but also be careful from duos who are going to have the previous elevation. And there it is. They're looking back, making sure nobody lands on them, but it's a dangerous situation to be in. It's a bit risky. We'll see who ended up fully claiming that high ground here in a moment. But for Swizzy and Vanyak, more than 500 damage above the threshold. Nice refresh. All they got to do is make it in.
Yeah, and they do have the medallion as well, or at least one of them does, a Swizzy. Just trying to change layers. You don't want to be stuck down low in the mud. It's almost like quicksand. Once you're down there, you get stuck, and they're eyeing up that high ground. There goes the crash pad, trying to shoot back. Good damage, and this is their chance to try to contest it yet again. They go up. This time, they're finding that success. Swizzy and Vanyak making magic happen as they get a quick knock on the backside of zone and immediately build up to make sure they solidify high ground for themselves.
A perfectly executed crash pad by Swizzy to claim height from his opponents with not only eliminations, but also now the potential to hold on to it, to take home this VR, but they have to continue getting ahead. Vanyak's been dropped down below. They are going to reconnect, but they have to get ahead as the pressure is on. Swizzy gets cracked. Swizzy gets knocked as well. It's all up to Vanyak. It's going to be Flixie. It's going to be Vico who claim height.
Oh, how the turntables right now, because Vico, Flixie, they weren't in the driver's seat, but they have definitely changed it now. They have the high ground. They have 8 eliminations. They have full control over the game, but I might have spoke too soon. Everything comes crashing down, but it might be a blessing for Vico. Nice shot on the players trying to escape, and because of Flixie holding his ground, calm, cool, collected, they once again re-solidify the high ground, but Nathan steals it away.
Height's getting changed more than duos in a new major as Nathan's up ahead now. He has lost his duo partner though. CZB is knocked down. Nathan is going to be forced to drop as well. Who's going to be the duo that claims height?
He even got a cone in there to separate his opponents. Nathan just trying to push himself that much further, but once again, if you look in the sky, that's a shining star. Vico and Flixie, they have 9 eliminations, and they're able to look down from above, but now it's coming crashing. Malibu and Mustache, they were the ones looking up, but he gets taken down. Flixie with the revenge, but he finally gets taken down as well. Mustache with the world of pressure on his shoulders, trying to make up that point deficit, and with the high ground secured, very few teams are in his path.
It's Cammy who's looking ahead. Does he have his duo partner though? As Mustache is not going to let that one slide. Unfortunately, just 11 builds is going to force him to drop, but it's going to be Vico that went for the elim, but he gets taken out, and now Cammy and Seti are the champions of height.
The collateral damage right there. 2 solos just trying to get revenge. Meanwhile, it just leaves one duo left alive. Cammy, Seti. It's almost like taking candy from a baby right now, even though Focus is trying to move up, separate them. Cammy would be a good target because right now it does look like he stole it away momentarily. Cammy, Seti are trying to drop him down into the palm of their hands, and they're just running through hard work after hard work here for a team that's the only duo in the game.
Oh, they gotta be careful though. Cammy with the quick shot to connect the elimination, but he's dropped to 11 HP. He has to be careful as he tries to pop a mini, but there's no time. Who took it home, Jacob?
That was Focus out of nowhere. We saw him bunch up to the sky. We saw him at least threaten the high ground, but it said Seti, Cammy, they are a team. They're a full duo. Nobody could overtake them, but Lucy and Focus, they not only overtook them, they took them down and advanced to the EU Grand Finals.
What a match. Height just kept changing and changing and changing. Even in the last moment, I said, okay, Cammy, Seti, it looks like they have it under control. We've got a full duo. They're looking strong, but out of nowhere, Belusi and Focus with a final shot, claiming height and claiming those final eliminations to book their seat on the battle bus to the grand finals.
Looking up, seeing the only duo down below. He didn't really have a win condition. There was no med kits in his inventory. So a huge congratulations to him stepping up to the plate, knocking it out of the park. And he did it as a solo late in that game. That was huge.
That was one of the most intense games I've seen. I needed a moment to rest. I know some of you do as well. So we're going to hop to a quick break, and then we'll be right back for more action. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to FNCS. And if it wasn't already hot enough in the UK, where I'm currently hosting this show from, that lobby was on fire. Levin, Focus and Lucy taking it in the end. But to be honest, it was anyone's guess in that final few moments as to who was going to take the victory royale.
I mean, that was crazy for sure. I think the thing I found most interesting about how that game ended, Frankie, is that we saw the effect of the nature of this semi-finals format, right? Trulix and Chicho won the game before this, so they're no longer in the lobby. And Belusi actually used to land where Trulix and Chicho land, but today he spent the first 2 games landing over on the east of the map at the sort of summit base camp. And before last game, he said, you know what, guys, I'm going back to my old spot now that Trulix and Chicho are gone. And he just wins the first game playing from his old spot. I don't know what he's going to do come grand finals now, because I don't think he wants to con Trulix and Chicho, but man, that is super impressive for Belusi and Focus.
You just got to be there, though, in grand finals. Doesn't matter whether you're at your preferred drop spot. If you're in the mix, you never know what can happen when it gets there. And it's a crazy end game in general. I mean, there was about 4 or 5 different teams on height. We seem to have the most height turnovers ever in that end game right there. And it just seemed like there was so many moments where you thought, yeah, that's it. And I know Cammy and Say with that team for me. Yeah, that's it. They took height. They got front side, perfect positioning. They'll ride it out from here. Easy height win for them. Didn't even end up winning. They didn't even get second in the end. It was the 3rd place for those guys. So it was difficult to keep track at sometimes, but it was a really entertaining end game.
I was about to say, Mini Mullet, were you surprised that Camisetti didn't take it? Or Levin, you answer that question.
No, honestly, I thought they would. Even in all that chaos, right? I really did think that they were going to pull through because they looked much better than we've seen some of the previous games. It was at this point here when they, just before this, right, when they were on the height, I thought, okay, surely that was the last height take of the game, right? Wrong, of course. But even when they lost height, I thought, okay, if they can just solidify a spot on low ground, they should be good. They were sort of just that team that gets stuck in the middle, you know, in the final move, and like you get caught in between the height team and the people on low. It's like really awkward spot to be in. And it's not a spot we usually see them in. Usually they're the ones establishing themselves as either the low team or the height team, and they just sort of got caught in between and they lose the game as a result of it.
Focus was sort of back in Storm, wasn't he? He was popping those med kits, trying to take it from behind, and we saw that. Cammy and Say were almost surprised. There were just metal bills appearing above them out of nowhere. They were like, hang on a sec, who's this? What's happening here? And it just turned into a bit of a panic situation for them. Of course, as you mentioned, Levin, dropping down to that mid layer in that moment is not ideal. So I'm sure they'll be back and better than ever for the next couple of games, though.
Let's take a look at the standings, because there were so many duos, as you already mentioned, guys, contesting for the high ground. So I want to see where that's taken them in terms of the standings. And Nathan and CZB, can we just give them props, please, 11, for one of the cheekiest attempts at taking height that I think I have seen this season. Nathan with the DMR challenging Vico Flixie. I think the challenge lasts about half a second.
Yeah, cheeky is a nicer way to put it for sure. We'll go with cheeky. I mean, he's got no mats, he's got a DMR, no spray weapon, DMR and Gatekeeper, and he decides, yeah, I'm gonna crash pad up on height. And it's like the most bonkers decision ever. For a moment though, he's like holding on to it, and you're thinking, yeah, surely not, right? And like you said, Frankie, it was like half a second later, he's all the way back down. Then again, it just felt like everybody was going for height in that game, eh?
Yeah, it did seem like that. It seemed like there was a lot of those sort of hype players. I think it was Swizzy and Vanyak who actually took hype for a moment there in that end game. They used that crash pad, the fizz, and they just seemed to take the team that were up there just completely off guard entirely. I think it was Braxel and his duo that were just sort of looking at some loot. They were just sitting up there, and that just shows the importance of keeping that awareness when you are on height, because teams can just sneak up on you so easily and so quickly that Swizzy and Vanyak, they did that so easily for them.
I was about to say,
right
I'm surprised to see, especially the way that they're performing so far. I was so surprised to not see them further up in the top 10, but then I think you do have to bear in mind that the top 3 placements in the standings.
I think this is Nathan.
Yeah,
Is it Nathan?
it's ridiculous.
Maybe it was, I'm not sure.
He's got the confidence of anyone right there. I mean, a bit too big for his boots in the end, though.
The top 3 duos have already actually qualified, so really they're kind of higher up in the top 10 than you might suspect. And honestly, I kind of want to do one of those bold predictions right now and say that this duo is going to get a victory royale in the last 2 games. Is that silly, Levin?
I mean, it's classic non-bold bold prediction from Frankie. You know, it's like the favorites of the day. You know, I predict they're gonna win again. I mean, sure, I think most people would, Frankie. You know, so hopefully we see it.
I don't think they're the favourites of the day so far. I'd actually say, if anything, Nathan and CZB are surely the favourites of the day so far.
I mean, coming into the day, you know.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, Nathan and CZB, they're the top of the leaderboard. They didn't already qualify through, so I suppose that is true. But I mean, if Nathan keeps up that confidence, right, then he should be able to make those plays. If he has his duo alongside him, who knows what can happen with that duo.
Okay, what about Vico and Flixie as well, though? Because this is a duo that's obviously new for Major number 3. We have said that sometimes they can get a bit too aggressive and sometimes they pull it back maybe too much. Do you think they found a balance now, Miniminer?
I hope so, yeah. And it was something that I mentioned earlier on, that sometimes they can overheat a little bit and sometimes they can maybe not get enough Storm Surge in mid-game, be a little bit too passive. So I think if they can try and find that balance, which of course was 6 eliminations here from Vico, and in that endgame it worked out very well, they can. I think it's just going to be one of those things where they just need to try and find the moments where they can go for those fights, find the moments where they can opt to just play their strategy, play a little bit more passive, and I think they'll be fine. It was just this height take here, a little bit of a mess in the end. I think nobody could really hold on to it for too much longer, but some good signs from this duo, and it's their best game of the day, so only up from here, hopefully.
Since we're all dishing out bold predictions, I reckon Vico and Flixie get an elim this game. That's my
wow, really?
You reckon they get a single elimination? Yeah, I'm taking that as a single elimination. That's the only way they can make that bold, because Vico, by zone 4 of that previous game, he'd already got 4 eliminations to his name. We're going to head over to Jacob PR and Takata, because we've only got 2 more games left today, and we need to get game 4 underway.
Thank you, Frankie. Look, it's interesting. Now with only 2 more games left, I want to think a little bit as well about the players that are going to be looking to qualify to tomorrow's upper bracket. The top 20, not including the 5 players that are going to qualify directly to grand finals through the VR, are going to move on to the upper bracket tomorrow. And the top 30 duos who are playing the lower bracket right now in the semifinals will also get moved up to the upper bracket tomorrow. So we got to keep an eye on that leaderboard, Jacob, alongside the players that are securing the VR.
Yeah, hopefully it doesn't mess with their mental too much, because you still win, you advance to the grand finals, but you still need it in the back of your head. Plan B, if I'm not in the position to win, how can I stretch together more points to get up that leaderboard? The second to last game of the day is ready. Let's jump right into it.
What I find interesting here, Jacob, is, you know, we've talked about EU invading NA with a lot of the top duos moving to NA for this major. But what we haven't talked about is there's now as many Middle East players confirmed for grand finals in EU as there are EU players. Out of the 6 duos that have qualified through VRs today, 3 of those players are from Middle East and 3 of them are from EU. Now, obviously, all competing here on EU, but I don't know, we kind of got some region changes going on during this major. Obviously, we'll see how it changes as time goes on. Still a lot of duos going to be qualifying through consistency and a lot more through more victory royales. So we'll take a look here. We saw this engagement in the previous match, but I don't think they ended up dropping in the same location. I believe it was Cade and his duo that actually disengaged. So now we do have a head-to-head.
Yep, it does look like we got some floor loop shotguns coming out. Chest towards the top. Hopefully you got a nice draw out of that chest. See them once again. As soon as they turtle themselves inside of that building, Mariah and Cade try to go towards the outskirts. Lunex quickly peeks. Decent shot on the Cade, but not enough to build the confidence. There's a huge mismatch in the HP and the shield lead, but it might be a bigger mismatch in the weapons. As Cade goes in, he gets sent right back out, but Mariah's able to turn the tides, even it up to a 1v1, trying to get as much of that loot as possible, and he gets it just in time, or at least the Siphon match to try to protect himself.
Got to be careful as he's going to take the time to pop the big pot now. Mariah thinking out options, planning out what he can do here, as Lunex does have the HP and shield advantage. And with Mariah not having enough time to break that wall yet, Lunex might just be able to replace the ramp. But it looks like a change of location, a change of positioning. That's what Lunex is going to opt in for now. Looking to break the ramp, but still unable to open up one of those options.
There's just not a lot of builds between even the 2 players in this 1v1. Lunex does have the majority of those builds due to the elimination, the siphon, but he's choosing to disengage. With such few opportunities left in the game, I don't blame him. I almost agree with this play. Play this one out, get your teammate back, rather than entrusting into a 50-50, into a solo play. You've practiced for months and months on end, from chapter to chapter, to try to get your spot in the finals. And now you just want to make sure that you give yourself the best chance possible by getting your teammate back.
Ryan kind of taking a look at the surrounding area now on the hill, trying to see if he can find anyone. But so far, it's going to be more of a waiting game now as we take a look at Clownski, Finn, and X-Force. Clownski and X-Force going to be the aggressors in this engagement. Finn trying to survive, but unfortunately, it looks like this is going to be the end for Finn. One more opportunity in the next match to qualify through the VR. If not, depending on his placement, we might see him in the upper or lower bracket tomorrow.
X4 and Clousy needed to start just like that, because they are literally in 26th place. If the game were to end now at 60 points is the threshold, they are 2 points outside of going to tomorrow's upper bracket. Granted, if they get a win, it's a moot point, but it just shows how close the leaderboard portion of today actually is. So with 2 games left, like I said, plan B, got to start having it in the back of your mind. If you're in a situation you feel like you can't come back from, it might be best to try to play some placement.
Tidy Lens playing sneaky here. Does Yanis and Pixie know that they have 2 opponents close by? I don't think they do. Not yet, at least. If they can line up a 3-2-1, it could be enough damage to permit them to play aggressive and rush on in. But they're inching their way closer and closer, looking for that opportunity.
Everybody's kind of switching up their drops, especially with 3 teams no longer in the lobby. A lot of flexibility. The back-to-back Chulech and Chicho split wins. And I think we're going to continue to see that here, which kind of throws a little bit of a mix up in some of these players' rotations, the game plans overall, where they're getting surged, because they're not going to have the same players located in the same spots going for the same drop every time. But it does look like a crash pad play is getting warmed up here.
Oh, are they going for it? Maybe mistimed the landing a little bit. They did get some connections off the Yanis, though. He has been dropped down to about 30 shield. This Tidy looks for an angle. He's been full box, though. He's actually going to be the one going down, as Lens has been left alone now to run away. The crash pad coming through. That did not go exactly as planned.
Not even sure Yanis and Pixie even expected to fight anybody there. Just a little bit of a blessing, raining points and loot out of the sky. You see a different forecast tower this time around. I talked about the 80% one that's over just north of Sandy Steps. Everything else isn't as guaranteed. So this could be a good opportunity for Thomas and Queasy. I know we've talked about the struggles when it comes to Storm Surge, but if they can get their hands on a forecast tower, 2 very, very experienced players like this, I think this could be their game.
This could definitely be their game, as I believe we just saw a duo crash padding towards them as we switched. I wonder how that's going to end up. Marius and Sangold choosing the kind of passive strat here in a bush. Doubt that Walks and Ping know that they are here. Was it Flixie and Ping that ended up playing aggressive? This is the same forecast tower, right? So Rico and Flixie now. Already with 2 eliminations.
That leads all players with 15 elims. That's something we were talking about Nathan for a few of those games so far. And you're seeing more and more teams, because this is a different spot than what we've seen some of the other forecast towers. I think more and more teams are moving in this direction, say, hey, we might have a shot at taking this forecast tower away, because other teams might not be prepared. But when multiple teams just like this have that same train of thought and that same possible game plan, this is the type of gameplay you're expected to see.
1, 2, 3, 4 duos in the area. This is a kind of risky situation to be in if you end up fully taking an engagement, as Vico and Flixie might have realized that as they choose to disengage. I believe Thomas and Queasy were kind of mountain goating on the side there.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to go for the aggressive either.
I think Thomas and Queasy took down the NPC grab the Flowberry Fizz, the loot, because Queasy's talking about if I could just get a DMR with a scope on it. And I think that right there was a huge difference maker. Even though they didn't get the Forecast Tower, they now have the DMR, the Flowberry Fizz, the big pots, and they have everything they need outside of the Forecast Tower, which they don't usually get anyway. So this could be a big game for Queasy and Thomas, really thinking outside of the box here on a play like that.
Looking at Marius and Sangil, they've got their nice little base set up to trying to get some line on sight on players rotating in the surrounding area. Issue is, though, if you look at the mini-map, the only players close by is Walks and Ping right below them, knocking on their door for a bomb. Raban and Fastroki, though, they're going to play aggressive.
Chapentini don't like anybody coming near their loot, their Forecast Tower that we see him come after every single game, but Fastroki and Roban, they're ready to challenge. They have a chance. They definitely have their opponents on the run, consistently trying to scramble around to try to find a spot. Fastroki has a different elevation, attacking with different angles. Nobody necessarily finding any success just yet outside of Teeny, who landed a good shot, but a nice haymaker to return fire. Basically down to where they started when this fight began.
Teeny very low now, has to be careful. Chap trying to knock on the door as he gets right on in. Raban gets knocked down. Fastroki quickly with the counter attack. Teeny now left in the 1 versus 1 is going to be able to finish off one of his opponents. Just medkits in the inventory though. Would be able to heal up with a Flowberry Fizz, but what a shot connecting. 148 coming out with just 13 HP. I don't even know if he did that on purpose. He was like looting up and then bam, 148.
He got scared.
Sent back to the lobby. Just shot
right there.
I mean, it worked out, so I would not be complaining. Flixie as well with another 2.
And Chapentini, I think, might be the best team in this lobby in terms of how the Nitro Splash got changed. When they use it, almost doesn't look like it. You don't expect him to burst through the box like that, but he does a quick burst, a quick pickaxe, weakens the build, and then charges right through. And that's what they're doing to catch a lot of these teams off guard in some of these fights. But man, this lobby just got so active.
Looks like a Fortnite reload game mode with the amount of action we're seeing right now. Vanya got to be careful, though, from the third party. Gets cracked. Could have been a sniper, a headshot. I'm not even sure. As the Nitro now comes through, but is it going to be enough to save him? He actually blasts Reason into the sky like a rocket, saving himself from the shot. What a way to survive that engagement. If Reason just connected a shot in his box, it would have led to Vanyak's demise, but the deal on the ground now. They should have a finish.
I like it. Swizzy jumped on over. He had options there when he was rotating on over. He could have continued to fight that one out, continue to put pressure, but he saw him run far away enough, and he was separating so far from Vanya to where he just said, let's disengage. This team is not known for necessarily being the most aggressive team in the lobby, and they're just continuing to take it step by step by step. They basically already have that top 25 secured in terms of going to tomorrow, so all they need is this big win.
See how Flixie was able to pick up one of those elims. 4 total now for this duo. Okay, that's a way to celebrate, I guess. Maybe got got the hair in the eyes a little bit. I used to do kind of that little flick so you can see a bit more, but Nathan CZB. No eliminations this time around.
Not just yet. And interesting is they land over towards Grand Glacier, uncontested. And they kind of made their way all the way towards the south. They probably used the launch pad that's not too far out there. And with the zone moving towards the north, they can easily get back in position with those Nitro rings. Not necessarily too worried for them there. As we continue to look around the lobby, all these surge towers, monuments built in the sky, and this is exactly what they're for, is Della and Fanayan. Just kind of slap dab in the middle of the island over towards Restored Reels, where they know a lot of players, a lot of teams will have to rotate either in this direction or through this direction if the zone continues to pull towards the north.
Yeah, with this zone, I'm actually a fan of this position of Della and Fernine. It's a good surge-based position right now. You can see the amount of duos that are kind of in the surrounding area. And just like you said, depending on where that zone pulls, it has a potential for a lot more players to rotate on through. Depends on how much damage they've done already, but they should be good. Ponasai Snazy finding another pickings here. A lot more aggression in this second to last match. You can see kind of the momentum of the game, the pace of the match having changed.
Do you think a team like them is taking advantage of everybody else? 2 games left, not a lot of time to move up the leaderboard, let alone get a win. Only 2 teams get that. Do you think they're taking advantage of likely already securing their spot due to points? So they're moving around the lobby, attacking teams, so that way they can take them out, obviously, so they have a better chance at winning? Or you think they're just kind of playing standard Fortnite?
I mean, normally in these scenarios, the players at the top, like CZV Nathan, who are just gonna maintain the position, want to kind of play it safe and just make it to the end game. But then you have other players, like the duo we're seeing on the screen right now, that might have to play a bit more aggressive as Gooden gets taken out. But now Dedo is left as a solo up against Emil. This is the same duo that fights each other off spawn, kind of on the edge of the map by the windmills.
Yeah, double disengage coming out. Both of those players kind of rotating towards the north. It almost looks like they're going for the same reboot van, though. So even though they disengage, they might meet up again here in this position, as Dedo's going to be the first one to try to land the shots, knowing that there's really only one reboot van in this direction. It looks like he's just trying to beat him to the punch, close the distance. And we've seen one of these before. Battle for the reboots.
This is not a first. Definitely not. I think in the last one we saw, I forget which duos it was, but they ended up getting that reboot just by kind of inching it bit by bit. But it looks like Dedo might not be interested, as he's going to go to a separate reboot van now. Question is, once he ends up getting that reboot, are they going to take their separate paths, or are they going to meet up once again in zone and battle it out for round 2?
Especially since Gutenbrand and Emil, they're the first ones rebooted back in, which means they're going to be the first ones rotating in that direction. They know the team is out there, so in theory, they could try to gatekeep them out as long as possible. But they only have about like 40 seconds. Zone is not too far away. There's a lot of flexibility for either one of these teams to rotate, whether they go all the way to the east, west, or just go straight south. I don't think they're going to meet each other anytime soon.
Curious to see how Malibuka and Murstache are holding on. We saw the issues they had in the initial matches of just not having enough damage. Like we mentioned earlier, they aren't contested today, compared to being the most contested duo in the past 2 seasons. So they got to get used to kind of that surge path once again, finding a significant amount of tags on the rotate, or just making that aggressive play. However, that is a bit more risky, and it's led to them getting eliminated.
Even though he got kind of dropped to just very little HP, they do have the medallion, so I want to see him continue to take those risks. Exactly that. Build up that surge, knowing you don't have to use a lot of the extra heals unless it's to top it off at the last 25. And it's almost less to worry about in terms of Storm Surge. Just like them, Podesai and Snazy, not too far out of the zone. And I think the zone is kind of beneficial for a lot of the players in this lobby in terms of, I don't think anybody has a max pull unless they staggered themselves so far out of zone to where it's bound to happen eventually.
Taking a look at the mini-map, trying to see what type of rotate they're going to go for here. Snazy and Podesai. You can see them marking different locations, different options they might have. Thomas HD up in the little tower looking for tags. Meanwhile, Queasy, I'm not sure if he's refarming or what he's doing, but the good news is he's doing something. You have to be efficient, especially when you're in these lobbies with the top tier of EU competitors. You always want to be doing something, whether it be looking for tags, refarming, looting, even just scaring opponents out of your general area to cause them to take a different rotation and free up your rotate for later zones.
And Queasy not too far. Exactly what you said, just farming up. He's staying down low in that position, just trying to get another angle for Storm Surge. As we tune in, Voltax lost Cool. Sky and Scroll are trying to third party interrupt this as Preshow and Combeck right above. They need to watch out, and there goes that first shot. Peekaboo, I see you, as Sky and Scroll now have him boxed up. They're trying to deny that opportunity for him to get out, but Preshow now drops into the box, and that is going to be a finished elimination as Sky and Scroll and their sneak attack finally paid off.
9-9 above now. A little bit of safety, but for how long is it going to last? As Sky is going to choose to use a med kit here. They're not in zone yet. They have to rotate on in, but after that elimination, It should alleviate a bit of pressure for this duo. However, drop down to 63 right when they get in zone. They're going to look for more. Luckily enough, they do have a Nitro ring. Issue is, it's facing the wrong way. So they are going to walk on into zone here. Have they just found their opponent? It took a bit of time to shoot. I think they didn't see them initially, so they were unable to get that quick shot off the rip.
It's a little bit of a blessing for Sky and Scroll because even though they're close by another team, the zone is pulling so far away as he quickly crash pads, trying to use those teams I was just mentioning as a distraction. Luckily for Sky and Scroll, Storm Surge momentarily churning off, giving them a few seconds here to try to get the surge that they need. And since they know so many teams are moved over in this direction, could be another chance for a sneak attack like we just saw.
Slove, quick replay of how he was able to pick up Ju. Hopefully he was able to finish that as well. It's CZB and Nathan. Nathan can't be far from the most eliminations of today, as he was leading it in the initial matches. It's been overtaken now, but 33 above might cause them to make a bit more of an aggressive play shortly. Their position, though. The positioning is very good in terms of the zone. Now 133 above. They've been blessed for a little bit.
Yeah, the rotations have been pretty good so far. It's once you make it into the 8th, the 9th, the 10th zones is where you find a lot of that difficulty. Not just them, but a lot of other players. As Voltiax, you still see him trying to run. Sky and Scroll finally catch up to him, box him up, take him down. But it did look like they're still below on the damage threshold, which gets tougher and tougher as the zone continue to move on.
Chap and T&E. I see a lot of players that are kind of around the 100 above threshold area. The ones that are already boxed up, at least, they've done consistently a little bit of damage as the zones have gone on. Look at that pull, though. Chap and T&E have a long rotate to make it into zone. Meanwhile, Malabuka, where's Murstache? Murstache is eliminated once again. I'm not sure what went wrong, but looking at the damage threshold, I believe they were forced into an aggressive play, which has not gone in their favor once again. And this is going to be, what, the third match that potentially would have caused them to get eliminated, but I forgot that we're talking about Malabuka. Is he going to be able to hold on?
He just quickly repositions, getting out of another tight spot. He didn't even stay alive there for that moment. 34. Malabuka's just making some magic happen, getting him closer and closer up that leaderboard. But if anything has taught me today, you cannot count yourself out as a solo. But we can see how Murstache went down, just peeking a little bit too much through that cone.
Wasn't even an aggressive play.
Yeah.
Just a quick beam from the opponents that caused Murstache to go down. We'll see, though, if Malabuka can make something happen. We've seen these clutches come from him before. 108 below still. But that can change quickly. You got Eyedrop and Haris close by. He heard the footsteps. He knows they're below him. The crash pad comes through. He's going to look for a shot. He connects it onto Haris. He might even get the knock here. Just one more shot needed to connect. The opportunity for aggression, but Malabuka gets cracked. He does have med kits and minis, but is going to get eliminated out of the sky with the crash pad. Good attempt overall, though.
I think everybody now knows no Murstache, no Malabuka in the lobby, and a medallion that nobody can use. One of the most important tools in the lobby in terms of that, as Nathan CZB fell from grace just a little bit. We saw them elevated. Now we're seeing them further and further down low, with not a lot of heals to regenerate. 20 on the Flowberry Fizz, waits for CZB to reunite in the same box, and now they see the pool. Another far pool from the players in the lobby. Majority are gonna have to go through it. A little bit of a short crash pad trying to get down that mountain, but CZB just extends himself just a little bit too high up, almost gets taken down because of it.
Vico, 576 above. Incredible loadout. More than enough utility, consumables, and even materials. All they have to do is stay strong now. They're also in zone. Are they going to choose to play down below here? They have been dominating the low ground, but could this be the match? They want to change things up a little bit.
They're able to get the Machinist Mythic away from Malabuka and Murstache, so we'll see who won the trade when he went down as he spots down below. CZB and Nathan becoming a full target. three teams shooting in this mix. Vico and Flixie have no reason to drop down low off the side of the mountain, so they're just terrorizing from above, causing a lot of pressure. No matter if they get the elimination or not, that's two possible teams that they're trying to get out of the lobby and out of their way.
Oh, Nathan, CZB got to be careful. They're leading the leaderboard currently, not including the players that got the VRs. But with the amount of HP that they have and CZB having gone down already, this might be an early finish for Nathan in the 4th match of the day.
So I was saying the 8th zone, the 9th zone, these later halves of the map, that's where a lot of the struggles come to fruition, as Nathan now has a chance to get CZB back, but he's still getting focused on the other side, dropping down low, layer by layer, having a chance to breathe, but they're not really giving him much. Just a crevice of the zone that he's trying to hold on. As CZB finally gets cleaned up, he knows he can no longer be the hero there, but he's still looking down. An opportunity to surprise attack. 15 builds, no heals. Nathan needs a refresh.
Artist looking like they're thinking of holding that height. Is it too early, though? We saw what happened in the previous match with the amount of duos that contested up above 9th zone. And it looks like they're going to try and hold on.
286 above the damage threshold. Not much for them to have to worry about other than making it from point A to point B. Nitro Splash, Crash Pad, just trying to stagger just enough for the zone to open up, so that way they don't have to fall all the way down below, catching themselves a nice mid layer. And this is exactly why you don't want to get caught in the chaos. Teeny, Chap, they're causing so much destruction down below. Anybody who crossed their path better watch out.
Disruption, chaos, 5 elims now for this duo as they continue to go up a couple layers. They don't want to be in the dirt with the amount of duos that are going to fall down. Podesai, Snazy are going to be the ones up above, though, applying pressure down below as Queasy and Thomas. Are they going to go for it? Are they thinking about it? They're looking what layer they might want to move to, but there's still a lot of time.
Yeah, they had a chance in their earlier games on the day. It slipped through their fingers, and now they're trying to make up for it. Nice elimination on Reason, but does not get any damage for Storm Surge. They're trying to jump ahead, giving themselves a chance to look back, and Thomas is landing shot after shot, but they're still falling further and further below the threshold. Even with elimination like that, I think it might have taken him over the top.
Vanyak now up above, but he's got to be careful as Teeny's taking shots at Chap now. It's Swizzy Vanyak trying to hold on, but can they do it? Just 20 builds left as Teeny is getting dropped down. But can he stay up? He's in his teammate's box. It's looking risky.
Yeah, momentarily takes a sliver of fall damage as well. That could have been a disaster if Chap wasn't there to catch him. Looking all around, another battle for the high ground. Pixie and Yanis are trying to be the ones on top of the throne, but they get denied that opportunity. Forced down low into the mud. But will they go at it again? They have the Flowberry Fizz. They have opportunity. But Artist and Underdog Bro are the ones that will not let it go for free.
Can they hold on, though? We saw what happened in previous matches. The shot comes through. It's connected, but it's not enough. He has to stay up here. His Artist is almost cracked. Dropped down to 8 shield. One big shot. It's all it's going to take to knock Artist down. But they're doing such a good job of staying strong here.
Everything was expended. Chap, Teeny, they were the ones that went up, tried to challenge it. Artist has to drop down low, takes a quick tick to the storm, separates from his teammates, crash pads once again, but Pixie goes down. Nice shot from Artist, tries to go back to back, but he loses his teammate along the way. He has multiple medkits. He has the Flowberry Fizz, almost takes fall damage, but there goes the big elimination with Yanis once again solidifying height.
It's been overthrown once again, but down below we have Odin and his duo partner. What's their game plan? Basically no materials left as Yanis is forced to pop a med kit. He has bigs, but how much time? He gets cracked, he gets eliminated. Good night.
Everything comes crashing down. Now Walks even loses his teammate. Everybody running around mostly as solos. Only one duo left in this game, and you already see them down low trying to separate themselves. High ground retake with the crash pad. That's Odin. That's Gold. They get elimination again, but it goes down. Everything comes crashing down. They fall back into the zone. I don't even know who stole that game away.
I think it was Walks. Walks looking like he came from 21st place on the leaderboard, not even in qualifying range to the upper bracket, to now securing his golden ticket with the victory royale and making it to the grand finals. What a great way to get a solid comeback.
That was looking so close. I saw Ping went down and is getting dropped down. Walks was getting dropped down into that fire pit. Fortunately enough, he was able to kind of outlast, and there was that defining moment. Odin and Gold were the last two teammates alive. Everybody else solos. Walks hits that shot there, and his teammate was too far back into the zone, taking damage after damage. They have stolen away that game yet again.
I'm not gonna lie, I was on your boat. I thought Odin and Gold were gonna be able to take it home, but congratulations to Wox and Ping because they made it to the grand finals. But we still have one more match to be played out, and we'll get right to that after this quick break. Don't go anywhere.
What a game 4. I feel like every time we come back from the break tonight, I'm just hyping up what happened in the previous game. But the high ground chaos we have seen this evening is just sending me wild. This night is really delivering Mini Miner, and Wox delivered the goods for him and his duo Ping in that last game.
Yeah, he did, and a crucial one for him because they weren't having an amazing day before that. It just shows that this format, it's all about one game. One game can make the difference. So we saw a really, really well-played endgame from those guys. From everyone else, it just seemed like they were just battling for height, hoping for the best. But these guys played out their materials a little bit there, took height towards the end, ended up falling down, but it was nicely played overall. They kind of just took advantage of all of those players on height, all that mess that was going on up there, Levin. It just seemed like everyone ran out of mass.
Yeah, this is a team that a lot more people need to have on their radar because they have been really impressive this season. In the FNCS qualifiers, there weren't too special, too many big shocking results from them. But in a lot of the tournaments outside of that, they've been really impressive. And Wox is a player who came 10th last season in grand finals, right? If he's to do that again this season, that would be sending him to global championships. And so, this is a player that I think needs to get a lot more attention. Him and Pings have looked really strong, and I think a lot more people who are tuning into Fortnite are starting to put these guys on their radar, and now we get to see them in grand finals.
Let's take a look at the standings after that epic game. Remember, everyone wants to get into the top 25 of the lobby tonight to guarantee themselves that spot in the upper bracket lobby tomorrow. Because if you get yourself a victory royale, you book your spot in next week's grand finals, which Ping, I should say. Pink's gone to America. Ping and Wox have just secured for themselves. But talking of Ping, that means I can smoothly link potentially over to Vico and Flixie, because this is a duo that seems to get the start of their games just so on point, Mini Miner, in terms of positioning themselves well for Surge.
Yeah, they haven't been in a bad game yet. It seems like they've managed to make it to that end game. The mid game they've had a little bit of trouble with at the beginning of the day, but now they're just hot off a 9th place right there, 6th place in game number 3. So they've seemed to figure out how to make it to these end games in this particular lobby. But all of that learning, all that education they've had today is going to be completely useless tomorrow, right? So hopefully they can just try and get that win now in this final game, or else they're going to struggle a little bit tomorrow if they're going to sort of have the same learning progression, that curve as we saw today.
I mean, ultimately, right, for the sake of our excitement and for the sake of hype, we want to see teams win games, right, in these first 2 days, because that is how you get to grand finals easiest. But at the end of the day, this is going to be a team that makes grand finals. If they don't do it today or tomorrow, come day 3 when they're in upper 3, they're going to be consistent enough, just like they've been here. Like, they are one of the best teams in this lobby. Looking at that leaderboard page, I don't know if you can see it again, but it looks ridiculous when you're looking at the elims they have compared to everyone else. They have 28, near 30. Nobody else is anywhere near that in the top 10, right? Wow, it's like, yeah. they are a team that is at a level right now that not many people can even touch, sniff, if even. So I'm not worried about these guys, albeit, Frankie, I would love to see them get a win. That's much more exciting, of course, but they'll be in grand finals, I'm sure.
And something else as well is that I remember Janice and Flixie, when they played together, I think it was either Major 1, Major 2, they had a rough day 1. They didn't really have like an amazing day in semi-finals. And the first game of day 2, they won. So it was like, could be a very similar situation with Flixie here, doing the exact same thing. Maybe this needs a day 2 to sort of adjust to the idea of winning a game.
What I really like about this duo as well is they will potentially challenge for hype, but they don't feel like they have to. Whereas I feel like some of the other big names, some of those sleeping giants, have really been going for hype, which is one of the reasons we're seeing it change hands so many times. I mean, Swizzy and Vanyak are just giving me life this evening. I'm almost forgetting that it's about 35 degrees in my room, boys, because every single time we make it to those end games, Levin, I'm just howling at the efforts they're making to dominate.
I mean, yeah, it is really crazy up on height at the moment. I mean, it's like, you almost think to yourself at some point, a lot of these guys, if you ain't got the minerals, man, you better stay off it, because everybody's coming up there. Like, if you ain't really going to go up on height and put in a shift, don't even try, man, because there's so many really good players that are just making it their mission to survive up there. So it's been really entertaining, really fun to watch. Of course, you know, the crash pads were added in that sort of 3-week break we had. So this has been new to the FNCS meta we've watched this season. And we're just seeing it be so prominent, so important for these teams.
I think you make a good point there as well with the crash pads, is that a lot more teams have more mats now. Of course, you can save so many more materials when you're making those rotations. So I think a lot of teams are finding themselves more often than not in a situation where they think, yeah, you know what, we have the materials to take height because we've managed to save them earlier on. So I think that's sort of a key reason as to why we're seeing so many different teams up there at the moment, because everyone seems to be in the situation that they can do it.
And Swizzy and Vanyak, they're just masters of taking what works in the meta and really exploiting it to the fullest potential. If you think about the Icarus wings in Major 2, that's really one of the things that led them to dominate the Major Grand Finals weekends. And just the plays that they're pulling off with the Fizz and the crash pads tonight are just something to behold. But so are Chap and Teeny. This is a duo memorably coming second last time round in Major number 2, and they are on full throttle tonight, Mini Money.
Yeah, they're doing pretty good. I mean, it's just a matter of time. We've spoken about this duo before, and it's just like, yeah, they're gonna get through the grand finals. I think they're guaranteed to get a win. If we don't see it today, we will see it tomorrow. They've had some really solid games. We've seen them in that end game, all bar one game, which is game 3. And it just seems like they're putting themselves in all the right positions. They're putting themselves in that top 5. It all just comes down to those final few eliminations. Maybe a medkit play might be the strategy. Maybe it might be a final couple of refreshes there at the end. It's not quite clicking, but it's a 9 out of 10 performance so far.
Frankie, you got any bold predictions about these two you want to give us?
I mean, I definitely think, especially as the lobby kind of clears out with duos picking up those victory royales, that these boys surely have to get a golden ticket. But will they get it tonight? I feel like it's so random at the moment. It's really hard to tell. So you know what? I'm going to cop out. I'm not going to make any predictions. I'm going to ask... I'm going to ask Jacob, PR, and Takata to make one instead. In fact, you know what? No, I've been told. No, I have to. We're not going to the game until I make a prediction. This is humiliating. Okay, I am actually going to say that Cammy and Seti are going to take the last victory royale of the night because I know they haven't always been making it to the end game, but actually they had a near miss earlier on. And I just think that this is the duo we can rely on. And also, if Cammy and Seti do get a victory royale, I know they'll be straight down the cinema. That's their tradition. They just put their spot. Yeah. So, Cammy's like, he's on the scrims, and then he'll go to the cinema tomorrow night, Levin.
Definitely still not with Cammy, mate. He's going to be on the scrims all week. I don't think he's about the cinema business. He leaves that to Seti and all them people. You know, he's serious business for Cammy.
All right, I'm just going to say, you can't put me on the spot because I'm not the expert here, especially if you saw me playing competitive earlier this week on Twitch. It was bad business. So, Levin, I'm going to ask for your prediction next, please.
Ooh, I think I want to go full vibes here. And the vibes for me are leaning towards a Reason and Vidil Magic comeback season because we've just not really seen them get as close as I think many people would have liked to. And so fully on vibes, I'm going Reason and Vidil.
As in they're going to take the next victory royale?
Yeah, for tonight, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Mini?
You want mine? Okay. You know what? I'm going to actually go the opposite of what Frankie said. Seti and Cammy. Frankie said that Seti and Cammy are going to win the next game. I think they're going to qualify to grand finals. I think they'll go all the way till Sunday and qualify through consistency. I don't think they're going to get a victory.
No, mini minor. I don't like that. I don't like you going so much against my predictions. So we're going to go straight to the final game of tonight with Jacob, PR, and Takata. I've overruled you.
Thank you so much. And Takata, I want to have some fun. I want to pick a horse in this race. And, you know, I'm just looking at the leaderboard, looking at consistency, eliminations. I think it's time. I think it's time for Chapantini. They've been getting the forecast tower more times than not. They've been making deep into these games, and they're ready to fight anybody at a moment's notice.
You think Chapantini heard Cammy Seti? Chapantini, look, the cutoff right now for top 25, which qualifies you to the upper bracket tomorrow, is literally Merstash and Malibuca at 86 points. And I don't want to see them qualify through consistency. I want to see them qualify through a victory royale. So I'm going Merstash Mali. I think they've got this under control. They've been getting a bit of practice. They've got enough practice now, guys. The joke's over. Okay, you can win a game. You know, we spent a bit of time like having fun. Now it's game time. Okay, it's time to lock in. It's time to focus, which is exactly what Odin and Gold need to do as well. Ending second place in the last match. They were the only duo that was up in that late game. I honestly thought they had it. They got a little split up though. Knocked down from height. A little confused. And were not able to pick up that VR.
Shooting the brawlers, there just came a hot spot, a popular zone. Akira and Easy rotating on over from where I do believe they were kind of contesting Seti and Cammy over on that split drop over there. And we've already seen Cool and Voltiax from just the right of Brawler's Battleground enter into this fight once already. So Brawler's Battleground, especially with the zone rotating on over in this direction, some early game action with Pixie being, I feel like, the only one that has some things that went down with his teammate going dropped altogether. You see him rotating towards the outside, and I feel like he definitely has a lot of time to wait if he's looking to get that reboot card back.
Take a look at my pick here, Merstash Malibuca. Let's see how they started off. I want to see the loadout. Are they doing an aggressive early gameplay here?
Yeah, I like it.
They know they're not contested. They've had issues with damage later on. They say, why are we going for it in the late game when we can take engagements here in the early game? I might be mistaken, but...
Wait a minute. I was going to say if you see that, but it's more of do you not see that? who's not over here right now. No Swizzy, no Vanyak in sight. The medallion is still up as well. So I think Merstash, Malibuka, whether he went down or not, they might have saw something in the feed that they liked, and this is giving them a green light.
No stopping here if the shot's connecting. Ooh, laser beam from Merstash, and he's not done.
Dosage is getting chased down. Malibuka finally finds him. They still look and see Skyv. So whether Skyv is going to get the reboot or just simply disengage, it almost looks like back-to-back medallions might be collected by Merstash and Malibuka.
That's brutal. A lethal duo to have double medallion. This could be the game. This could be the match we've been waiting for.
So this is just going to be one of those situations where they literally have everything that they need now. They got that early elimination, which means it gives them a little bit of surge. It's not a ton of surge to feel confident going the rest of your game without worries, but it's enough to where they've looted their red line, they got the loot they wanted, now they have Brutal Beachhead all to themselves. If that solo's going to come back, they have another chance at surge. So we're just going to leave them there for that moment, let the dust settle for Malibuka and Merstash. We know they have a good game going so far, unlike Sky and Scroll instantly get taken down. And it's almost a blessing because they started the fight against somebody else, and that blessing is only going to last for so long as Ice and his duo get another elimination. The full duo, not just one, but two full duos are now down and out on that side of the map. I was talking about how congested Brawler's Battleground actually is in a lot of these moments. This is just north towards Mount Olympus. So a lot of those players that might have third-party down there are no longer here, which is going to get them a little bit of an easier rotation, especially since we know Podesai and Snazy don't necessarily go all out on that side of the map, or at least to start off the drop.
Cammy and Seti looking quite healthy here. Good amount of shield, good amount of loot and materials, but it's all about the late game.
68 players alive. I feel like this is the quickest we've gotten down to this number in a long time, which is going to change up a little bit of the gameplay through the mid game. There's going to be a lot more freedom if you're able to catch a duo out of position and nobody else is nearby. And I'm glad to see Yanis is back. Pixie doing his job. Zone not really threatening too much, even though if they stay here, they will be in the zone. One tick with just a footstep away from actually getting in. There's literally no worries for Pixie and Yanis, and this is like best case scenario from how the early game started.
Yeah. I'm curious to see how this game's going to play out, though. In the most recent match, it was full aggression throughout the whole mid game. So I wonder if that's going to change up. Players that can continue with that, trying to just go all or nothing, or if maybe they'll take a step back and say, okay, look, it's only basically top 25 to continue in the upper bracket tomorrow, so it's not like we need a really big game to make it happen. And maybe they just have to play for the late game, but Bad Sniper likes the aggressive idea. 2 elims already racked up.
Man, this is the spot I was talking about. Literally after game 1 where QNTX and Phantom qualified, this is what opened up. And we didn't see it initially in game 2, maybe not even game 3, but as teams fill each other out, maybe you go down early, you check the replay, figure out where everybody's dropping at and try to switch up accordingly. But with multiple teams, like you said early on as well, having that same idea, this is exactly the result I expected to see.
Taking a look right on over to Nathan and CZV. They went down early in the late game in the last match. However, they're still holding strong on the leaderboard. I believe they're, what, top 5 right now? Not including, well, the winners who already qualified. So they're basically first place on the leaderboard. All they have to do is hold on to this position, and they basically have their upper bracket guaranteed. So maybe what they will do is even play a little extra aggressive and try and take out some players that have been causing trouble on their rotations, potentially.
Yeah, I feel like the only thing they have to lose is that grand final spot, which isn't even guaranteed either way. They have their upper bracket spot secured as Cade finally gets found out. Enough search and you'll find him, especially since you got a lot of time. The zone barely closing in. Vico's just trying to break through these builds. The walls are the weakest, so that's why it takes one pickaxe. He's able to immediately go in with the nitro, and there goes the other angle. Cade doesn't have eyes on the back of his head, and Vico takes advantage of that fact. Almost boxes him in. Doesn't matter if it's your box or my box. Vico says, oh, I'm going to take you out nonetheless, even though it's taken just a little bit longer than anyone would hope. I just feel so bad for Cade right here. He's literally stuck in a glass. They're putting him in a museum at that point. Look at the animal I just found.
What can you do in that situation? I mean, it's literally just a matter of time before you get eliminated. I have respect, though. He was jumping around trying to do what he could to come out on top. But unfortunately, that's going to be the end of the run today. For Reason and Vidil, though, still a long ways to go. 6 nitro splashes, 2 colas, even with Spare on the ground from potentially that elimination that they got earlier on in the nitro drone.
Right now, they have Levin rooting for them as last game winners, 92 points. Barely above that threshold for the cutoff of upper bracket as the game started. We'll see where that cutoff is as it ends. And so far, even with only one elimination, you see that they're just kind of calm, cool, collected, taking their time. Even with a duo running around and multiple opportunities to get shots in the distance, it's kind of like they're sticking to the game plan in which they've practiced up until this point.
Pixie now forced up a big pot. Might double down here as he has a bit of time to recuperate that shield that was lost during the engagement. Yanis looking like he picked up one as well. More of a southern zone this time around. I'm not sure if it's going to continue pulling south, but I don't think we've seen a lot of south end games today, Jacob.
Yeah, not a lot at all. I think, I want to say the furthest south was around Reckless, maybe the halfway point, which is a little bit of a mix-up from what we saw in some of these zones during the qualifiers, which I think is causing a little bit of confusion for some of these teams. Not a lot, though, as a lot of them are flexible, able to get around that spot. Cool, and Voltiax, they switched up their drop spot, their game plan a few times here today. Sometimes taking it slow, looting up. Others just trying to get early damage for Storm Surge. And they're just hoping this last game, the few minor adjustments they made after game 4 is enough to pull them over the top.
This is the second time, or even third time, I've seen Nathan and CZB kind of make this play of being crouched up, playing slow and calm, waiting for an opportunity to kind of surprise one of their opponents. They know that they're looting the bunker right now, and it's a matter of time when they start rotating in that line. It's walking right into Nathan's path, and there it is, the double shotgun shot. Quick elimination, now the 2v1. All they need to do is finish it off quickly. I wouldn't even chase here, but Nathan wants it, and it paid off. Quick elimination, extra loot, extra damage, everything you need to play out the rest of this match.
And we can see moments just like this right here and how they really affect the game. Even though they don't need the elimination for points, they didn't necessarily need it for loot, it's just building that confidence, building that Storm Surge so they don't have to worry about it later. Like I said, Zones 8, Zones 9, Storm Surge just a little bit more active. That's where they usually fall short of the potential. And I want to see them in this game use these early game fights to as much advantage as possible, get a good position in zone, and that way when you get into 8th, 9th spots, you have very, very little to worry about.
You know, I said I wanted to see a Mustache Malibuca VR in this last match, but I wouldn't mind a Queasy Thomas either. The first game was the only game we saw them fully commit to height. If they're able to do it in this match, it might just be enough.
A lot of opportunity going around the lobby. Akira, easy, switching up their drop spot. Over to Brawlers this time around, and now they run into Yanis and Pixie, who's ready to get a little bit of revenge because of that. But only 14 shields. He needs to be careful not to overstep his boundaries. Pixie ends up in the wrong box. He's going to get dropped. Just a sliver of HP left on the easy. Yanis can't take advantage of that, not just yet. He just boxed up his teammates. He's trying to force them to him, and that's going to be the best chance, especially with the cold pop. He has to buy the time. Akira goes in, and Yanis and Pixie go out. That's a big momentum shift for these guys who have not been having the best day so far.
What a way to close out the fight. Accidentally picked up his opponent, causing him to get eliminated. We can take a look at the replay, too, of how Pixie ended up going down. What a shot connected. I'd say it won them that fight. Camiseti, the duo, one of the duos that spent most time in zone, as you can see from their playstyle, where they do like to play out in the zone and continue their loot path.
was thinking for a moment how much Akira and Easy switching up their drop spots are going to affect Cammy and Seti. Then I see 2 eliminations already. So I don't think it's affecting them too much. They're used to a slower start and having to hunt for these opportunities. So it's almost no surprise that they staggered themselves so far back into zone to where you're more likely to find a team that doesn't have resources, that doesn't have heals, and that being the main reason why they staggered themselves so far back.
Merstash Malibuca now once again going for the Rift Island. In the last match, it was successful. They secured 2 eliminations from the players that were here contesting them. Will they be able to do it once again? It's a different duo this time around. Looks like it's Comeback and Porhawa.
You know, even with all this fight going down, I wondered who has the medallions. Is it one each? Does Merstash have both of them? Because Malibuca's trusting him with the mythic loot altogether. That's a loadout that you'll never shy away from.
Oh.
And I do believe Merstash does at least have the Brutal Beachhead, the medallion that gives you nitro. You see his feet are on fire right now. Just don't know about the other one.
Trying to look here how aggressive Merstash and Mali actually are going to play this out, or are they just going to take their time? The flag hasn't been fully captured yet, has it? There it is. Now it has. Merstash Malibuca claiming the rest of that loot. The shots are going to be traded.
That was cheeky. They weren't even the ones that captured the point, but because they built up it the way they did, you saw them leave the capture point, they uncontested it, and then the loot pops out of nowhere. 200 IQ play from Merstash and Malibuca.
Good way to claim it. It's what you love to see. Wouldn't expect anything less from a duo like Merstash and Mali. For 9 and Della now continuing with the same surge-based strategy that they've been rolling throughout these matches today. But now it's time to rotate. Zone has not pulled in their favor, so they're going to recuperate what they have lost and figure out a way to make it in.
Couple of reboots going down outside of the map. You see they're looking forward in towards the zone. Just trying to get that information, maybe some surge tags, but they're just trying to see who's in their path in front of them. What is that perfect rotation going to be? And then the timing has to be crucial. If there's a team like above you, in front of you, most times you have to wait for them to begin to rotate before you can as well.
Voltiax and Cool taking a look at their surroundings, seeing what sort of opportunities they might have. We see Potosai and Snazy in a nice little surge base. The new POI here that you talked a bit about, Jacob. The boat kind of reminds me the old chapters. I forget what the POI was called, by the volcano. You know what I'm talking about?
Was it
Yeah,
Lazy
the little
Lagoon?
pirate ship. Was it Lagoon? I think it was. Lazy Lagoon had the pirate ship. Good times.
There's not really
the cannons as well.
Yeah, there's not really like a difference maker of loot over in this spot. What really makes a difference is teams are contesting it, or maybe you don't get the chest spawns that you wanted towards the outskirts, but now you have this giant boat, a giant ship. And now we got Pirate Queasy, Pirate Thomas now just trying to take command of that ship. And I don't know how many teams are actually going to rotate in this direction in terms of in the ship, around the ship, because it's something that's so new and you could be hiding in there around any one of those corners. Thomas and Queasy are using it as a way to kind of shroud their location, because if you were to build, you see the fresh builds, you know they're there. They're using windows, they're using the top of the ship, the back of the ship. It's almost like they purchased it before the match.
Maybe they did. As a quick reminder as well, so we've already had 4 players qualify directly to the grand finals from securing victory royales in these matches. 1 more will book their ticket as well in this match when they get that win. But for the other players, it's top 25 on the leaderboard, including the already qualified duos to the grand finals. We'll make it to the upper bracket tomorrow, and then the top 30 from the lower bracket that's playing right now will also make it to the upper bracket tomorrow. Well, they have another shot at trying to secure a VR. And day 3 is where the consistency matters the most, Jacob, with 25 duos qualifying through consistency in the upper bracket, and then after 15 from the lower bracket. A lot to be played out this weekend, and we're just getting started.
Yeah, lower bracket round 2 is the place you don't want to be in, because that is literally the last chance. You don't make it out of lower bracket round 2, your FNCS is over. And that's why I feel like me and you, Takada, would put so much importance on being in the upper bracket, qualifying for the finals, so you don't have to be put in that pressure cooker at the end of the week on Sunday with it's basically all or nothing. You make it to the grand finals, or you got to watch the rest of FNCS, including the Global Championship, on the sideline with us.
Tarps now. Inside of a tarp, but not one that I would want to be in with the amount of pressure that's being applied. 320 below as well. Jacob, this is the last situation you want to be in for the final match of the day.
Yeah, that's not just an elimination worth of damage that they need. They almost need 2 full eliminations worth of damage. So even if they go ahead and attack any of these guys, you see 50 chunk of HP missing, 50 chunk of shield missing, and now they're falling further and further below with active surge. Tarps and Noya, they need to figure it out now because they do not have enough heals to out-heal this, because even if they survive this zone, they will not survive the next.
Storm keeps ticking. HP getting lower and lower as the big pot is being forced here. Good news, 6 minis, another big. They've got a lot of heals, but the amount of damage they need, they need more than an elimination, Jacob. They need a full duo wipe here, as an 80 is going to be enough to take out one, but still so far away.
Only went up
From
75 damage. Only 75 with that elimination. That's what I'm saying. You need full elimination at this stage in the game. The majority of the lobby is like on scraps, really not able to get full HP, but that's another way in. Just quickly makes your way into the box. Tarps needs to be careful. Stairs separate him and his teammate, and that's going to cause Noya's demise. He got a couple shots, but still, even if he escapes this, 270 below the threshold. Still active surge. With only minis in the inventory, he is definitely on the clock, and it striked midnight. He is out of there.
Good night as we switch on over to a duo that's looking, you know, it could be worse. They've got 197 damage. They've got a decent loadout, pretty good materials. Not exactly in zone yet, so the crash pad rotate is going to come through. Nice and clean, but actually got knocked in the sky. Hi, Frozy. What went wrong? As Giraz and Chari now doing a good job of connecting shots off the cool.
Yeah, shots when it's needed most. Very little damage below the threshold. A sneeze will get him above that threshold, but it's the stage of the game. Everybody's boxed up. Nobody wants to take those opportunities to peek, especially if you're well above that damage threshold. It's almost going to be box fights, one of the few ways that you can start to accumulate that surge. 30 below. Gears and Chari are starting to fall further and further below, and that sparks the Nitro. They'd have to rotate anyway, but now with active surge, they need to figure it out now.
51 below. The clock keeps ticking. Chari gets knocked down, gets eliminated. Giraz follows behind shortly. Who got those eliminations, though?
Nathan and CZ beat out of nowhere. They didn't get the first elimination, though. He went down straight to Surge because he didn't get knocked. He just got straight eliminated, and that's the big difference maker of Storm Surge. And now it's Cool and Voltiax feeling that same pain. There's a lot of distraction all around. That's Preshow and Combat. They try and have the line of sight, but once again, active Surge being the difference maker, and he gets flanked, shot from above. The edit comes in. Voltiax trying to scramble around. He can only take 3 ticks. That's about 20 seconds.
Last match ending up being one of the most stacked games. Storm Surge is not saying sorry to anybody in this match. Everybody forced to play extra aggressive as Voltiax is able to connect the shot, but with just 30 HP, he's a couple ticks away from getting eliminated. Not much time left as desperation for shots come through, but I don't see too many options here, Jacob.
Yeah, a huge blessing because Storm Surge deactivated as soon as the next zone closed. He has about 16 seconds here. Storm Surge will activate, and he can only take 2-6. That's about 30 seconds from here on out for Voltiax to get damage before he is out of the game, and the opportunity for finals in the upper bracket is gone.
Flowberry Fizz is found. How much, though? 100. That could be the savior that he was looking for. It's going to get popped, I assume, fully here. Issue is, zone pulls a bit far. Storm Surge is now once again active, and it's going to start ticking. Voltiax going to play the safer route, cover himself a little bit, but right when he finishes with his Flowberry Fizz, his only option is to play aggressive, but he's cracked 1 tick away, and he's eliminated. It looks like this is the end of the road for Voltiax.
Yeah, that was bad sniper. Just saw him in the distance. It's the Flowberry Fizz, which is why you saw him hesitate on using it. Rightfully so. He really didn't have no other choice, and this is the first sense of the high ground. 9th zone. It is going to be moving. Stacey and Podesai have to concede it because on the other side of the front side of zone, a whole nother team has based up towards height.
Malabuka now forced to play to pick up Mustache, but he has no time. Now, another duo came to finish them off. Malibuca, though, with a double edit, unable to connect the initial shot. Good news is, does not have to worry about damage. 30 builds to work with.
And Yao was right. Mustache had both of those medallions, and they already went on over to somebody else. So Malibuca, no mythic loot, no medallion. He's up to himself as a solo in a world full of duos here. And on the high ground, it's Cringe and Volko. They get contested very shortly by CZB. No Nathan in sight. They're back to the lobby and have to go again tomorrow.
What a find, though. That's a good upgrade for Cringe now, as they have more than enough materials to hold on to height. And Malibuca, did he pick up 1? Did he pick up 2? He has 5 eliminations, and he's playing alone.
Right now, if you look at that leaderboard going into this game, remember, it was on 86 points. Malibuca has to do what he can. Very little placement points so far. Most of it coming through eliminations. He looks back, finds Volko flying through the sky, and that's how you make some plays happen for Malibuca. 1,200 above the threshold, still being a driving force for the team.
This clutch is crucial. They were the cutoff to qualify to the upper bracket. They were the last duo on the 25th spot. So Malibuca needs to make something happen. And that is exactly what he's doing. Retakes high ground for his 7th elimination.
He's already had one of the more historic plays in these semifinals a couple of seasons ago to bring Mustache back and win it and qualify. Now he's doing it here yet again. He's well away from everybody else. Not too many struggles. Vico, Flixie, they're just trying to steamroll, and they take down Thomas. Queasy was able to get out for a quick moment, but how long can he survive?
A couple more eliminations being racked up. Thomas HD's been fully eliminated. Queasy left alone as he's put into pressure. Duos in his surrounding area. He has to find a new layer. He has to find a new path, but he's doing a great job.
About, I think, 6 solos in this game right now, one of them being Queasy. Majority dominated by duos, but on the high ground, nobody really has a chance to look up. Second night is even Queasy. Maybe Vico, maybe Flixie can kind of look up, but nobody really has a chance. They are just taking on each other, and Malibuca's persistent pressure is not allowing them to breathe.
I don't think they even know that it's a solo up on high. You can see how dangerous it looks. If you look at the clouds, he's made his own structure up above. It's Cammy and Seti, though, full low in the dirt now on the train tracks, looking to see if they can pick up one more. It's a solo close by. They're making sure to stay ahead here. Look back at the players that might not be as healthy as them, but you gotta be careful. The retake comes through for height. Malibuca, he's not giving it up.
I think now with two other teams there, he might have no other choice but to try to disengage. He still has the Flowberry Fizz. He has the Nitro. Fall damage is not a worry, but he is going up yet again. Finally, he gets shut down. Vico, Flixie, this is their moment with 6 eliminations. They already have upper bracket secured in terms of consistency. Now it's about that win and the grand finals.
The raid boss has been shut down. Now it's all up to Vico and Flixie. They drop down below. The only other duo, I believe, is Cammy and Seti holding on strong, as now it comes down to the final moments.
Couple of med kits getting started a little early. Cammy's gonna be fresh out. A tall challenge for him and Seti. 2 duos left in this game. The only solos towards the backside of zone, trying to heal off as much as possible. But it's gonna come down to the final fight. 2v2. Flixie's going towards the outside. He's ready for plan B. The heal off if necessary. Down goes Vico. Cammy's now by himself, looking for any med kits. Doesn't find it. And we talked about the heal off. Flixie's out of everything. It's a 1v1. Casper and Prism out of nowhere. 6 eliminations. They steal away the game, and that spot in finals.
From the shadows, from the zone, from the heal off to the victory royale. What did we just witness, Jacob? It was the final 2v2. We thought it was all up to the Cammy Seti to clutch it from the low ground up against Flixie and his duo, but out of nowhere, Prism and his duo partner finishing it off, taking home the VR in the last match of the day.
It was like seeing a ghost at the end. Everything was shaken out like they thought it was supposed to. The med kits going down early, full HP. Flixie didn't even know where to turn. And Casper, that was a 6th elimination and the most important elimination of his day. Congratulations and welcome to the EU Grand Finals.
I was trying to see where they were positioned on the leaderboard, because I think they literally just clutched up. They might have been going to lower bracket, but now they're not even going to uppers. They're going to the grand finals, but this time you don't have to wait any longer. We're going to head over to Frankie, Levin, Mini, break down what we just saw.
Thank you so much, guys. Can't wait to hear your voices commentating the action tomorrow. And congratulations to Casper and Prism, because it was another photo finish at the end there. And to be honest, I felt like all of us on the analyst desk, we had skin in the game, because if you hadn't noticed, Cammy and Seti were in that top 3, and it looked like they might potentially take it and prove Mini Miner wrong and me right for the first time ever in my life. Sadly, though, it was not to be for them. Also, Vico and Flixie having a fantastic time, but ultimately Levin, Casper and Prism have booked their spot in the grounds.
I was so perplexed. Like, when Cammy and Seti go down at the end, I'm thinking, okay, game's done. And the game wasn't ending. I'm like, what's going on? Casper just sneaking his way around there. And I mean, what a coup for these guys, Mini, right? Casper and Prism, they were 49th on the series point leaderboard. They were almost in lower bracket for today. They almost shouldn't have been here, and now they're on the way to the grand finals. I mean, what a turnaround.
I mean, even on the leaderboard of today, to answer Takata's question, they were 31st going into that last game. So they needed to win. They needed a decent game to get into the top 25. But realistically, they wanted to go all the way to grand finals. It was Casper there who clutched up at the end. I think it was top 5, top 6 there, where he's left as a solo, just clutching up, playing that med kit early, which we've seen so many teams do and players do today. And Flixie, I think, was caught off guard a little bit. I think Flixie thought that he was way further back. He just get in the zone and then, of course, just ride out the win. But I think he just caught a little bit surprised in that situation.
I mean, it was just masterfully handled in the final moments of that game. But let's take a look at the standings. And I need to remind everyone at home, the top 5, these are our Victory Royale winners. They don't need to play again this weekend. They're already through to Grands. And then the 20 below them, they've secured upper bracket for tomorrow. And they'll be joined by the best 30 duos from the unset lower bracket lobby. So obviously, this is a very happy top 10. But I am very curious to see who made it and who didn't. And if you look at number 14, Murstache and Malabuka, they were teetering on the edge of having to go down to the lower bracket Mini Miner. And Malabuka just played out of his mind to make sure that they're in the upper bracket tomorrow.
It's all about this. It's all about this elimination. Then the following height take. That was what gave him the green light right there. Of course, he had that and he thought, right, no, he's going to play his Matt's going to play mid-ground. No, this is Malabuka. He's going to go back up again, go back for seconds, take out Cringe. And the way he was playing high, it genuinely looked like he was going to hold it out for the entire game. Of course, Vico and Flixie decided that, and they saw that there was only a solo on high, so they decided to go up. But Malabuka, give yourself a pat on the back, my friend. That was a really nice clutch.
What a ridiculous player. Just unbelievable. I mean, Jacob put it perfectly. Shades of some of the masterful solo clutches we saw from him, you know, many seasons ago. And yeah, absolutely ridiculous.
I mean, I think some of my favourite Fortnite memories, my favourite FNCF memories involve Malabuka, whether it's Thomas and Malabuka last year or, of course, Murstache and Malabuka this year. And I'm so happy that we get to cover them in the action in tomorrow's upper bracket, as we will be on the stream. In terms of the rest of the top 10, I mean, all of these players, really, they have been so consistent tonight, Levin.
I mean, absolutely, right? Cammy, Seti, I think a lot of these names here were names we expected to see in here. Cammy and Seti, of course, definitely one of them as well. That last game was one where you just really thought they were going to take it. I was ready for Frankie to come on the desk and just dunk on Mini. Like, honestly, I was almost a bit disappointed I didn't get the outcome I wanted, because I was really waiting to see. Frankie always got a lot of fire for me. I'm thinking, what does she have in store for Mini? We didn't quite go that way, but Cammy and Seti still really great in the end there. A bit of a panic almost, it felt like, from Cammy. Seemed like he was a bit flustered. But I'll be honest, Frankie, I'm done with the teasing, man. Let's see the top 25. Who didn't make it to uppers? I just want to know.
I will tell you who didn't make it to the Victory Royale, and that's for deal and reason, Levin.
Yeah, war game for them.
But they did actually make it into the upper bracket. They did. They did. Oh, okay, fine. Fair enough. Okay.
Levin's
fine, Levin. You got something. You're slightly vindicated, but you did say that they will get Victory Royale tonight. So
see
maybe
how she still had more
you can make that prediction.
Exactly. I'm confused. I mean, mine's still on, actually, and so is yours, actually, to be fair. But
how do I get the smoke there when it's supposed to be Mini? Like, I don't understand what's going on. What's this agenda against me?
Says a man who smokes me out every single time we do this show, to the point that people in the community are just like, Levin, Is this Levin actually he just merely tolerates Frankie?
This Levin agenda is nuts, man. Justice for Levin. Justice for Levin. No, look, when you look at the players here who have dropped down, I think a lot of these players were in good situations throughout the day. I mean, there was times when Blurfire and Brax were up on the high right, you thought they would look good. Marius and Sangud as well, you know, a team that had a lot of hype. And Marius individually has had some really great performances this season, but not quite able to do enough to stay in the upper bracket. Look, lower bracket, day 2 is not the end of the world, right? They're still fighting in this competition, but it does just put that bit of extra pressure now tomorrow, right? Because they can't slip up tomorrow. If you mess up lower day 2, the FNCS is done.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I'm looking at Vico and Flixie as well. They had a really, really good day today, just consistently improving throughout the day. 23rd, 15th, 6th, 9th, and then 2nd there at the end. This is a duo that have won on the day, technically, when you look at the consistency. They're first out of those that didn't qualify, and it just seems like they're playing so well right now. It's all about whether they can continue that to tomorrow now, because, of course, we're going to have a whole bunch of new players in the lobby, a whole bunch of different questions that need to be answered in terms of rotation, Storm Surge, who's contesting who. It's going to be really interesting to see what these guys can do, but it was so close for these guys. There's a guarantee, though, that they will make it to the grand finals with how well they're playing consistency-wise.
Yeah, like I highlighted earlier, it's like when you look at the way they're playing, there's just no doubt they'll make it, right? Yeah. Whether they win a game or not is almost irrelevant to me at this point, because the actual level of play we're seeing from them is that of a team that is going to be contending for the FNCS Championship next weekend. So I think there shouldn't be any worries about them. We say all this and they'll probably win the first game of tomorrow, right? So it's like, I'm not holding out on them. They played phenomenally today. 37 eliminations today, more than anybody else by some distance as well. Big performance from Vico and Flixie.
Yeah, even if they don't get one of those Victory Royale tickets tomorrow straight through to Grands, you can bet that if they make it, and they probably will, they are really going to put up one heck of a performance next weekend. That's all we've got time for tonight, though, in the first of our semi-final showdowns. We will be live a bit earlier tomorrow, so keep your eyes on the FN Competitive X account to see when we are going to be on the air. And yeah, boys, I can't wait to share the action with you tomorrow. But for now, all I've got to say is sound that horn. I'll see you tomorrow.
shy, cause I'm always in rap.